Chapter 1850. Impulse. Fan Rian writhed in resistance, her gaze fixed on Xiao Xian with defiance. Xiao Xian's voice sliced through the tension, cold and unyielding. Apologize. How dare you glare at me? Do you intend to strike me? Release her and let her offer her apology. But they couldn't simply release her. First, Madame Fan instructed someone to escort Fan Rian away, but Xiao Xian intervened. Halt. Fan Rian will not depart until she has extended her apology. How dare you? Do you show no regard for me, the prefect's wife? First, Madame Fan faltered. Madame Xiao Ayuro, her sister-in-law, had long been accustomed to having her way. Previously, the prefect's wife held little sway in her presence. Therefore, in a reflexive attempt to prevent any further embarrassment to the Fan family, first Madame Fan sought to defuse the situation by attending to her sister-in-law's needs, disregarding any potential offense to the prefect's wife. However, while she chose to overlook it, Xiao Xian did not. Xiao Xian had heard of the treatment received by previous prefects' spouses in An's province. She felt both incredulous and disheartened. Those dispatched here for administrative duties lacked influential connections. They were compelled to rely on the local elite families. Even if they suffered hidden injustices, they could do naught but endure. However, she couldn't let such an incident pass unchallenged. Release her. Xiao Xian's command sliced through the tension like a blade. The two maids, already apprehensive of their mistress, trembled under Xiao Xian's stern rebuke. They relinquished their hold, allowing Fan Rian to break free and rush toward Xiao Xian. In the midst of gasps and murmurs from the onlookers, Xiao Xian raised an imperious hand. With a frigid gaze fixed on her, Fan Rian's arm froze mid-air. The sight of Xiao Xian's icy composure instilled a sudden fear in her, halting the intended strike. Caught between impulse and apprehension, Fan Rian hesitated. She couldn't bring herself to carry out the slap, knowing the repercussions of assaulting the prefect's wife in public. Even her own mother's intervention would be futile if such a scene unfolded. The prefect's wife might demand an apology or even imprisonment. Fan Rian's arm remained rigid, neither moving forward nor retreating. She stood frozen in embarrassment and apprehension. Xiao Xian, unmoved by the spectacle, remarked coldly, "Mrs. Bai, you certainly are remarkable." First, Madame Fan intervened swiftly, restraining Fan Rian and coaxing her to lower her hand. She recognized the folly of her impulsive action, which only served to compound her embarrassment. "Madame Xiao, please understand. It was a momentary lapse of judgment." Thankfully, she regained her senses promptly. "Please forgive her, Madame Xiao. Sister, offer your apology to Madame Xiao." Apologizing was inevitable at this point. Her impulsive behavior had not only harmed herself but also brought disgrace upon others. First, Madame Fan wished she could give her sister-in-law a sound scolding as well. Xiao Xian regarded them with contempt, sneering disdainfully. The Fan family, one of the most prominent in An's province, who wouldn't be eager to curry favor with you? Apologize. I am not worthy of such grace. Mrs. Jia, let us depart. We wouldn't want the Fan family to lament our departure and accuse us of theft. Yes, Madame Xiao. Chapter 1851. Reprimand. Aya, please reconsider. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan couldn't bear to see Xiao Xian walk away like this. With so many eyes upon them, Fan Rian's refusal to apologize only worsened matters. If Madame Xiao sought retribution, it could spell trouble for their family. Sister, a sincere apology is in order. We acknowledge our mistake. Madame Xiao, we implore you to grant the Fan family a chance to make amends. Please show mercy, Madame Xiao. The two madams of the Fan family were visibly distressed. With every plea for leniency, they cast pleading glances at Fan Rian, silently urging her to make amends swiftly. Fan Rian clenched her fists, her face flushing with embarrassment and frustration. She had never felt so humiliated. Apologizing was not in her nature, especially not in front of such a crowd. But she understood the necessity of swallowing her pride in this moment to spare her family from further disgrace. Madame Xiao was notoriously vindictive, and provoking her further would only invite disaster. As she prepared to swallow her pride and issue an apology, Mrs. Guan, who had remained silent until now, interjected, "Madame Xiao, let's not escalate this any further. You're well aware of your influence. There's no need to assert dominance at every turn. This is about a bracelet, isn't it? Dragging innocent parties like Mrs. Bai into this only complicates matters. Are you attempting to manipulate the situation to your advantage, perhaps implicating Mrs. Jia? It's a cunning move, I must admit. Your strategic acumen is truly remarkable." Fan Rian adamantly refused to apologize to Xiao Xian. Instead, her eyes flashed with defiance as she retorted, I agree. We've yet to unravel the mystery of the bracelet. Are you just going to ignore it? Enough. Xiao Xian's voice cut through the tension. Your disrespect towards me won't go unnoticed. With all these witnesses, are you attempting to deceive or manipulate the truth? I may not hold much sway, but I won't be bullied so easily. Today's events demand seriousness. My position as the prefect's wife is at stake. Turning his gaze to Mrs. Guan, Xiao Xian's tone turned icy. And you? Your peculiar manner of speaking betrays your arrogance. I find Mrs. Jiao far more reliable than you. Why the rush? We must delve deeper into your intentions. If you doubt our Lord's judgment, feel free to appeal to the higher court unimpeded. Why the hesitation? It's intriguing. You seem eager to dismiss this without evidence or witnesses. Your status should remind you to act with restraint. If you dare to display such rudeness and arrogance again, you'll find it insufficient. Mrs. Guan flushed with indignation. Yuro, it's not your place to speak in my presence. Keep silent and step aside. Your time will come, Xiao Xian interjected sharply. Any further utterance from you will result in the same treatment. Furious, ashamed, and seething with anger, Mrs. Guan trembled slightly. But she dared not voice another word. If even Fan Rian could be struck, she stood no chance. To face such humiliation would be futile. A sudden realization struck Yuro. Hadn't she once wielded arrogance and dominance just as flagrantly? Chapter 1852. Not accepting as long as she found joy and contentment, the opinions of other scribes' wives were inconsequential to her. She remained indifferent, unconcerned, and apathetic Yuro, but now, with her status diminished, she experienced the discomfort of this indifference. This didn't signify regret for her past actions. Rather, she harbored resentment towards Xiao Yunduan for stripping her husband of his position as deputy prefect. Having dealt with Mrs. Guan, Xiao Xian's gaze turned coldly to Fan Rian. Mrs. Bai, what is your course of action? Fan Rian felt a rush of blood to her head, her mind reeling. Mrs. Guan's rebuke felt like a personal reprimand, as she had just spoken up on Fan Rian's behalf. Madame Xiao showed no mercy to the Fan family. I was mistaken. I shouldn't have acted impulsively. Madame Xiao, I beg your forgiveness, Yuro, Xiao Xian sneered. I'm the one seething with anger and resorting to bullying. Fan Rian shot him a glare before swiftly averting her eyes, seething with even more rage. She had struggled to utter those words, yet Xiao Xian dismissed them with disdain. His mockery only fueled her fury further. If given the chance, she would retract her apology without a moment's hesitation. Fan Rian couldn't help but feel utterly worthless in this moment. Madame Xiao's intent to provoke trouble was glaringly obvious, and the outcome would remain unchanged regardless of whether she apologized or not. So why subject herself to such humiliation willingly? Had she apologized to Mrs. Guan, Xiao Xian wouldn't have relented either way. Yet she chose to follow suit, mirroring Mrs. Guan's behavior and earning nothing but disdain. It was only when she pushed them too far that she finally offered an apology, inviting further Macaria Euro. None of the madams dared to betray their emotions. Offending the Fan family was out of the question for them, and the same applied to Madame Xiao. Euro Xiao Xian's sneer cut through the tense silence. You're insolent, overbearing, contentious, and braggadocious. Had I been even slightly weaker, you might have bested me. Do you truly believe a mere apology suffices? Will anyone dare to behave like this in my presence from now on? At the very least, they can choose not to apologize or bow, can't they? The two madams of the Fan family had initially intended to plead for leniency, but they found themselves speechless. Fan Rian's conviction that Xiao Xian was deliberately stirring up trouble only strengthened. The ladies begrudgingly acknowledged that Madame Xiao held the upper hand. Euro, after all, she was the wife of the prefect. While the Fan family wielded considerable influence, it wasn't what it used to be. In the past, they could afford to disregard the prefect's wife, but with the current holder of that position, the dynamics had shifted. Euro over the years. Fan Rian's haughty demeanor had alienated many. Numerous individuals harbored ill will towards her and relished in her downfall. Though they didn't vocalize their satisfaction, their expressions betrayed their sentiments. Catching sight of their smug looks only deepened Fan Rian's embarrassment. Convinced that Xiao Xian orchestrated this ordeal deliberately, Fan Rian resolved not to endure further humiliation here, regardless of the consequences. Besides, she had always been timid, preferring to shirk responsibility and foist it onto others. If she could evade blame, she would. If not, she'd simply delegate the cleanup to her two sister-in-laws without a second thought. She had no qualms about standing before her mother and berating her sister-in-laws for their perceived sluggishness and thoroughness in resolving her messes. She had even brazenly accused them of harboring ulterior motives against her. Chapter 1853, berating it remained unchanged. Realizing she couldn't gain an upper hand and would only face humiliation, Fan Rian promptly resigned, shirking her responsibilities. Madame Xiao, if you're dissatisfied, feel free to take it up with our family. As the wife of the prefect, who could dare to oppose you? Moreover, your eloquence is unmatched. With those words, Fan Rian turned on her heels and stormed off. The two madams of the Fan family exchanged glances, their faces draining of color, their expressions contorting into a mixture of rage and disgust. Their sister-in-law's penchant for stirring up trouble had resurfaced once more, leaving them to deal with the aftermath. Dealing with other matters was one thing. After all, there was hardly anything in Anne's province that the Fan family couldn't handle. But tangling with the prefect's wife? That was an entirely different matter. Madame Xiaoyuro, the Fan family undeniably holds great influence in Anne's province. Their power is unquestionable. As the wife of the prefect, I am but a mere outsider in your esteemed family. With a disdainful sneer, Xiao Xian rose from her seat and exited alongside Mrs. Jia. Mrs. Jia's expression mirrored her dissatisfaction. The Fan family had overstepped their bounds. While it was common knowledge that the three major families were domineering, Mrs. Jia had never experienced it firsthand until now, leaving her thoroughly disheartened. Madame Xiao, please wait, First Madame Fan interjected, attempting to defuse the tension with a smile. But Xiao Xian cut her off sharply, pointing an accusatory finger. Silence. How dare you impede me? You think I'm easy prey? Your family's insolence towards me is intolerable. You can't manage your own kin, yet you seek to control me? First Madame Fan, your motives are transparent. I didn't mean Euro, then step aside. Or face the consequences. Xiao Xian's threat hung in the air as she and Mrs. Jia departed, leaving First Madame Fan and her sister-in-law stunned. A heavy silence enveloped the room as everyone exchanged uneasy glances. They had learned their lesson. The prefect and his wife were not to be trifled with. The atmosphere in Anne's prefecture had shifted, and everyone realized they needed to tread carefully to avoid trouble. At least until the prefect's tenure came to an end. Meanwhile, Mrs. Guan couldn't contain her delight. The gleam in her eyes and the curve of her lips betrayed her satisfaction. She secretly hoped for discord between the Fan family and Xiao Xian, envisioning potential alliances in her favor. They might even succeed in enlisting the Mei family and the Hua family, leveraging their connections and familial ties. Unless Lord Xiao wished to stir up trouble in Anne's province, he would surely reconsider his stance. As Mrs. Guan entertained these thoughts, she felt a surge of satisfaction. She even entertained the possibility of her old master reclaiming the position of deputy prefect de Euro, but when First Madame Fan caught sight of the smug expression on Mrs. Guan's face, she felt a twinge of irritation, as though she had swallowed a fly. She clenched her teeth, cursing silently. If only she hadn't caused such a commotion, things wouldn't have spiraled out of control like this. First Madame Fan couldn't tolerate Mrs. Guan's gloating any longer, so she sighed and addressed her. I didn't anticipate things unfolding like this. You'll need to take care of your bracelet. Mrs. Guan's smile faltered, her heart sinking. 400 taels of silver. That was no small sum. Forced to maintain her composure, she responded, Thank you for the reminder, First Madame Fan. I cannot bear this loss alone. I must seek compensation from someone. Chapter 1854. You're too much today. First Madame Fan's smile was tinged with irony. Compensation? Who would she seek compensation from without evidence? Unless Madame Xiao intervened and pressured Mrs. Jia into admitting defeat. But was that a feasible outcome? Madame Xiao had stormed out in a fit of anger, signaling the end of the banquet. The two madams of the Fan family offered profuse apologies. Second Mrs. Fan escorted them out, while First Madame Fan hastened to find Fan Rian. Meanwhile, Old Lady Fan was enjoying her lunch. Fan Rian, always mindful of her mother's needs, wouldn't dare disturb her during this time. Hence, First Madame Fan easily intercepted her in her chamber. The atmosphere in the room was tense and subdued. The maidservants held their breaths, cowering in fear, their heads bowed in anticipation of reprimand. Fan Rian shot a glare at First Madame Fan. Sister-in-law, what brings you here? Have you dealt with that troublemaker? First Madame Fan's lips curved into a sneer. Troublemaker? It seems you're the one causing the most trouble. All of you leave, she commanded the maidservants. Casting furtive glances at Fan Rian, The maidservants discerned her dark expression but obediently complied, hastening to vacate the room. First Madame Fan's voice sliced through the tension like ice. You've crossed a line. What did you just say? Euro, Fan Rian began, her voice rising. Silence. First Madame Fan's palm crashed down on the coffee table, her tone scathing. Fan Rian, you are a member of the Fan family, show some restraint. If you're capable of causing trouble, then resolve it yourself. I owe you nothing. They'll clean up your mess when we return. I've had enough of your antics. Any mishap today will spell disaster for the Fan family. Are you oblivious to that fact? And what noble intentions does Mrs. Guan harbor? Her husband faltered due to his own shortcomings, and now she seeks to stir up trouble without cause. What's your stake in this? What makes you so special? Now that things have soured, you plan to abandon ship, leaving the fallout for me and second sister-in-law to handle? Your scheme is quite cunning. Fan Rian stammered, her eyes wide with disbelief, her breaths coming in ragged gasps. She struggled to formulate a response, taken aback by her sister-in-law's audacity. First Madame Fan relished the shock on Fan Rian's face. Let me make this clear. I want to assist you in resolving this mess today. Go apologize to Madame Xiao. And make sure you do it with genuine humility and sincerity. Don't forget, you're meant to beg for forgiveness, not disgust her. Shut up. Fan Rian's scream reverberated, her chest heaving with emotion. How dare you speak to me like that? Why wouldn't I? First Madame Fan's voice remained cold and composed. I'm your sister-in-law and the senior daughter-in-law of the Fan family. You've implicated the entire family, so why shouldn't I hold you accountable? Fan Rian, in theory this response seemed justified, but to Fan Rian, it felt like a scathing rebuke. She seethed with anger, struggling to find a rebuttal. As she opened her mouth to retaliate, she realized she couldn't articulate the pent-up frustration and hurt within her. A pang of anguish pierced her heart, and a sense of injustice washed over her. You always pretend to be righteous and virtuous, but I never imagined you harbored such thoughts. I see now. You've despised me all along, eager to rid me from this household. But this is my family too. My mother wanted me to stay. Who are you to look down on me? You think you can control me? No chance. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Fan Rian sniffled and wiped her eyes. Turning on her heels, she fled straight to Old Lady Fan's quarters. Chapter 1855. Let her sue. First Madame Fan's lips curved into a cold smile as she leisurely sipped her tea. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Yuejing couldn't shake off their nerves when Fan Rian threatened to seek Old Lady Fan's intervention. They dreaded the prospect of having to bow their heads, no matter how unjust they felt, fearing that Fan Rian would escalate the matter to Old Lady Fan. Yet today, First Madame Fan chose to disregard it, showing a remarkable indifference. She was free to act as she pleased. Madame Lady Qiao had endured years of grievances. Could she be expected to endure them indefinitely? Old Lady Fan was still robust and healthy, potentially living for another decade or even two. But Madame Lady Qiao refused to tolerate this suffering any longer. It was time to confront the situation head-on and chart a new course for herself. From now on, whoever instigated trouble would be responsible for resolving it. After draining her tea, First Madame Fan received Old Lady Fan's invitation. She offered a polite smile. They'll be there shortly. Please wait for me. Before seeking out Fan Rian, she had dispatched someone to summon the two patriarchs back. She intended to address the issue in their presence. Both of the Fan family's patriarchs were present at the shop when they received word of an urgent matter at home. Without hesitation, they hastened back to the residence. Accompanied by First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Fan, they proceeded to Old Lady Fan's chambers. Fan Rian had been nestled in Old Lady Fan's embrace, her tears flowing freely, eliciting a pang of sympathy from the elderly matriarch. Angrily awaiting First Madame Fan's arrival, she expected retribution for her grievances. Yet, to her surprise, no one responded to her calls, despite repeating them 3 or 4 times. Exhausted from her tearful ordeal, Fan Rian's eyes were now bloodshot as she cast a venomous glare at First Madame Fan upon her entrance. Meanwhile, Old Lady Fan's fury reached a boiling point as she scolded, "Your temper is intolerable. You're meant to be the matriarch of this household, yet I can't even summon you. This is unacceptable." The first Old Master Fan was taken aback. "Mother, what's happened? Have the audacity to ask. Inquire about your daughter-in-law's actions." Old Lady Fan bellowed furiously. "Kneel?" First Madame Fan's lip curled into a disdainful sneer. "Is it not excessive to show such bias? Listen. Old Lady Fan's voice trembled with emotion. Observe closely, she's on the verge of rebellion. First Madame Fan's voice rang out, determined and resolute. Old Lady Fan, you must hear me out. If you refuse to listen and insist on blaming me, believing I'm faultless and never at fault, then why don't we part ways? I won't dare to intervene in any family matters anymore. What did you just say? Elder sister-in-law? You're defying authority. A Euro chaos reigned within the Fan clan. Amidst the turmoil, Fan Rian's tears flowed anew, a sense of injustice overwhelming her. She lamented her plight, bemoaning how her mother had kept her at home out of love and filial piety, only for her to become a target of scorn and unwanted trouble. Old Lady Fan seethed with fury at her eldest daughter-in-law's insubordination. Instead of humbling herself and seeking forgiveness, she brazenly suggested a split. It was outright rebellion, further compounded by her incessant shouts and rebukes. First Madame Fan couldn't hold back her tears, recalling the years of grievances she endured. Second Mrs. Fan, initially inclined to reason with her, found herself overwhelmed with empathy, sharing in her sorrow. The two patriarchs of the Fan family attempted to intervene, but found themselves at a loss for words, wishing they had more mouths to speak with. They were exhausted and overwhelmed. In times past, such a situation had never arisen. First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Fan would capitulate, bowing their heads in submission, offering apologies and assurances. Once Old Lady Fan had finished reprimanding them, she would show mercy and extend forgiveness, bringing an end to the ordeal. Chapter 1856. Fainted this time, First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Fan clenched their jaws, refusing to offer apologies. Surrendering now would mean a lifetime of submission. Old Lady Fan, unaccustomed to such defiance, was profoundly affected by their refusal. So consumed with rage was she that she collapsed before she could regain her breath. The room descended into chaos once more. Mother. Mother. Help. Ah. Mother. Someone. We need help. Fetch a doctor. Fan Rian shook Madame Lady Qiao and cried out, Mother. Then, without a second thought, she turned towards First Madame Fan and slapped her across the face. This is all because of you. First Madame Fan seized her hand and retaliated with a fierce slap, causing Fan Rian to recoil in pain. She pointed accusingly. Enough. If you hadn't caused trouble, none of this would have happened. You show no remorse and only grow more insolent. Take a good look at yourself. Tears streamed down Fan Rian's cheeks. Elder brother, second brother, are you going to stand idly by while I'm treated like this? Are you failing Mother? You're the one who provoked Mother to this point, yet you have the audacity to shed tears? What? Not content with provoking Mother, you've also incited your brothers? Fan Rian, you've caused utter chaos. Yuyuro, enough arguing. First Old Master Fan's voice trembled with distress. With a stern expression, he added, Mother is in this state and yet you're still bickering. If anyone persists in arguing, leave this room. First Madame Fan fell silent, heeding her father-in-law's words. However, Fan Rian couldn't shake the feeling that despite not being singled out by name, her elder brother's admonishment was directed at her. He had never reprimanded her like this before. In the past, he would have comforted her long ago. Feeling a surge of resentment and sorrow, Fan Rian ceased her protests but remained seated, tears still streaming down her cheeks. First Old Master Fan's distress deepened at the sight. He called out twice for her to stop crying, but Fan Rian ignored him, her sobbing unabated. Furrowing his brow, First Old Master Fan grew increasingly frustrated. She wasn't a young teenager but a woman in her 30s. What reason did she have to cry? The doctor would arrive soon, but she refused to leave, making it difficult for others to attend to her. First Madame Fan's words cut through the air with icy precision. You'll cry too when the doctor arrives. Let everyone witness how the lady of the Fan family appears when she sheds tears. Fan Rian's tears ceased, replaced by a glare fixed on First Madame Fan. Thankfully, Old Lady Fan's fainting spell was merely due to a temporary lack of blood flow. The doctor administered medication to cool her system and alleviate liver discomfort, advising her to maintain a light diet and avoid anger. With his instructions given, he took his leave. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. Upon regaining consciousness, Old Lady Fan cast a piercing gaze at First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Yuezheng. First Old Master Fan, seeking to console her, inquired about the day's events. His inquiry only served to reignite Old Lady Fan's ire. She rebuked him for his lack of filial piety, questioning why he would bother to ask. Shouldn't he be focusing on teaching First Madame Fan a lesson and compelling her to kneel and apologize? Furthermore, his second son's wife was not to be spared either. It was high time she faced consequences too. First Madame Fan's demeanor turned grave. Mother, if we don't explain today's events, it will spell trouble for the entire Fan family. Are you certain you don't wish to hear it? The two patriarchs of the Fan family were taken aback by the gravity of the situation. Chapter 1857. Not backing down. Fan Rian's voice reverberated, charged with indignation. Stop trying to frighten Mother. She's just recovered and you're scaring her again. What's your intention? No one can match your skills, can they? First Madame Fan retorted with a sneer. Over the years you've engaged in plenty of such antics. I don't wish to dwell on the past, but today's events must be clarified. Moving forward, there must be order in this household. Suddenly, Fan Rian turned towards Old Lady Fan, her expression pleading. You're defying authority. Mother, please don't be upset. First Old Master Fan intervened hastily. Why don't you hear them out first? Then we can discuss how to address the situation. What do you say? Let's not let anger cloud our judgment. Second Old Master Fan added his voice to the plea. Indeed, Mother. If you faint again it will harm your health. Wary of any further physical strain, Old Lady Fan shot a fierce glare at the two patriarchs but managed to suppress her anger. Fine, tell me. I want to hear your side of the story. Otherwise you might think him showing favoritism and not allowing you to speak. Internally, First Madame Fan couldn't help but think, how self-righteous you are. Do you not realize your own bias? First Madame Fan recounted the events of the day, detailing every occurrence. Fan Rian, caught off guard by her mother's acquiescence, simmered with frustration, itching to interject and offer rebuttals. Yet, she knew it was futile. First Madame Fan was too enraged to heed any pleas for silence. But even as Fan Rian bristled, First Old Master Fan's attempts to intervene fell on deaf ears. She wouldn't listen to him, let alone First Madame Fan. Old Lady Fan remained impassive, her expression cool and detached, offering no indication of stopping Fan Rian's impending outburst. Finally, First Madame Fan concluded her account, visibly drained. Madame Xiao stormed off today incensed. Lord Xiao has garnered considerable support in An's province. His methods are well known and we stand no chance against him. Even if we remain unconvinced, resistance is futile. None can deny the implications of Madame Xiao's departure. It's clear I acted deliberately. We must consider the potential repercussions of provoking her wrath. As officials they hold power over us as citizens. Our Fan family is no match for Lord Xiao in a direct confrontation. Sister-in-law acted rashly. I urged her to retract and apologize. What's wrong with that? Direct apology signifies genuine remorse. Fan Rian sneered. Sister-in-law, are you so easily rattled by mere words? Ridiculous. Our Fan family is flourishing, abiding by the laws of the Qin dynasty. The prefect should tread carefully before crossing U.S. As for me, I simply believe Mrs. Guan speaks the truth. Is it wrong to defend her? Otherwise, Madame Xiao may well side with Mrs. Jia. She can voice her opinions, yet I can't? How tyrannical. She's narrow-minded and incapable of accepting differing viewpoints. And somehow it's my fault? Sister-in-law, your bias couldn't be more apparent. Don't forget we're family. Don't forget that Xiao just humiliated our family. Even if you cozy up to him like this, he might still harbor disdain for you. I can sense your disdain for me growing stronger by the day. First Madame Fan was left speechless. She felt a surge of both anger and anxiety. She hadn't anticipated her sister-in-law's obstinance. She could twist the truth so convincingly, painting herself as the defender of the Fan family while portraying First Madame Fan as the betrayer. Chapter 1858. Confounded First Old Master Fan and the others were left utterly speechless. The two patriarchs of the Fan family had no grievances about their detention in the prefect's office. Even if they did, they dared not voice them. After all, Lord Xiao was aware of their situation. Though the fine of 1,000 taels of silver was burdensome, they didn't dare to protest. Their sister shouldn't have provoked Madame Xiao like €30. What's the point? The Fan family had ample goods to sell and they were already busy enough. If officials kept hindering their work with constant scrutiny, their stock would pile up in the warehouses, risking spoilage. The Fan family couldn't afford such losses. First Old Master Fan couldn't help but chide Fan Rian, feeling she was being stubborn for no reason. There was nothing to gain from angering Madame Xiao. Second Old Master Fan echoed his sentiments. Second Mrs. Fan secretly concurred with her husband's assessment. Fan Rian, seething with anger, launched into another tirade, accusing them of looking down on her and plotting to exile her. The siblings and sister-in-law found themselves embroiled in yet another heated argument. Old Lady Fan, incensed by her daughters-in-law's defiance, cared not for right or wrong. Since they dared to oppose her today, she resolved to teach them a harsh lesson. What was so impressive about Madame Xiao, anyway? Rian had a point. Was she entitled to be biased and silence dissent? Furthermore, today's banquet seemed designed to antagonize her. They wanted her to understand that the Fan clan wouldn't tolerate disrespect. Lord Xiao hadn't demanded anything from the Fan family. Had the Fan family demanded anything from him? He had no right to disgrace them. Old Lady Fan scolded her son and daughter-in-law, siding with Fan Rian. Not only did she refrain from blaming her, but she also offered comfort. Instead, she chastised First Madame Fan for making a mountain out of a molehill, questioning her motives. First Madame Fan nearly exploded with fury. The two patriarchs felt a chill in their hearts. They hadn't anticipated their sister's confusion or their mother's befuddlement. Didn't they realize an arm couldn't compare to a thigh? First Madame Fan cautioned them that allowing her to persist would embolden her further. Sooner or later, she'd lead the Fan family astray. Consequently, they tacitly agreed not to yield this time. Since First Madame Fan had made the first move, there was no need to capitulate. They might as well crush her outright to prevent future regrets. Deep down, the two brothers harbored long-standing dissatisfaction with their sister. For years, their mother had wielded authoritarian control, making decisions without question. Yet, this sister of theirs persistently caused trouble. After enduring so much, anyone would reach their breaking point. Since the dam had burst today, there was no reason to plug the hole. Both families were resolute. Initially furious, Old Lady Fan soon found herself powerless after several rounds of argument. Continuing to shield her daughter would only drive a wedge between her and her Xianxia, a scenario Old Lady Fan dreaded. Her expression darkened and she remained silent. Fan Rian excelled at manipulation and sophistry. In terms of logic, she couldn't hold a candle to her. No matter how vehemently she argued she was aiding Xiao Xian or that Xiao Xian was being petty, it wouldn't change the fact that she had offended the prefect's wife, potentially putting the Fan family in jeopardy. It fell upon her to rectify this mess. No one was obligated to come to her defense. In short, First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Fan were prepared to resign this time. Chapter 1859. This must be Lord Xiao's counterattack. Of course, Fan Rian refused to admit fault and apologize. Instead, she resumed crying, lamenting how her brother and sister-in-law were cruel and heartless. It was evident they didn't regard her as family and were purposefully tormenting her. The situation descended into chaos. In the end, everyone was exasperated and the matter remained unresolved. No one was content. First Old Master Fan and Second Old Master Fan felt too ashamed to compel their wives to apologize on behalf of their sister. None of their actions made sense. They were at an impasse, but little did they know news of the dispute had spread. The following day, thugs descended upon the Fan family's rice shop, silk shop, restaurant and several other establishments, disrupting business operations. The shopkeeper, known for his temper, clashed with the intruders, further aggravating the situation. He reported the incident to the authorities, but help arrived slowly from the yamen. By the time officials arrived, the troublemakers had dispersed. Instead of apprehending them, the officials interrogated the shopkeeper with grave expressions. The majority of the Fan family's shopkeepers and workers, filled with confidence and pride, possessed less than pleasant temperaments. Witnessing the authorities' lack of action, they couldn't help but express their frustration in a manner lacking decorum. In the end, the officials erupted in anger, chastising them for being too arrogant and lawless. It became evident that the Fan family was just as haughty. If they were so superior, why not don their official attire and act as they pleased within the government office? The shopkeeper and his assistants were utterly bewildered by the situation. It dawned on them only then that the prefect was no longer the prefect, and the government office had undergone a transformation. Quickly they offered profuse apologies, trying to rectify the situation. They were scolded without cause and warned to conduct themselves as businessmen, to eschew arrogance and domineering behavior. After all, being amiable was the key to profitability, wasn't it? The officials' tyrannical and unreasonable behavior before them hinted at how they might treat ordinary customers. Even if it was a shop belonging to the prestigious Fan clan, they were expected to adhere to established regulations. Anne's prefecture city was not theirs to dictate terms. These words were spoken publicly, and countless bystanders absorbed them. The shop assistant felt dumbfounded and a tad fearful. He couldn't fathom why these officials were behaving so audaciously in the esteemed Fan family's establishment. Why didn't they show him any respect? However, the shopkeeper grasped the gravity of the situation and grew uneasy. It was clear that the main branch had somehow offended the former prefect. This was ominous. Bowing deeply, the shopkeeper issued apologies, eager to usher the officials away swiftly. He dared not meet the gaze of onlookers or engage in hushed conversations. After entrusting the shop to his staff, the shopkeeper hastened to the Fan family residence to deliver his report. Still unaware of the events transpiring, the family needed to be informed promptly, regardless of the importance of the matter. They needed a strategy. Several other shopkeepers had the same notion. It felt somewhat awkward for everyone to convene at the main household. As they exchanged accounts of what had occurred, an air of unease settled over the group. The hearts of first Old Master Fan and second Old Master Fan sank. This was undoubtedly Lord Xiao's retaliatory strike. Madame Xiao had been mistreated and embarrassed, prompting Lord Xiao to launch a swift counteroffensive against the Fan family. Otherwise, it was too coincidental for those troublemakers to disrupt business at the Fan family's shops today. Dependent on the government for their livelihoods, those thugs wouldn't dare disregard the casual, indifferent hints from a constable. Chapter 1860. Clearly a troublemaker. Furthermore, highway robbery seemed to be a favorite pastime for those scoundrels. It wouldn't do to air their dirty laundry in public. How could first Old Master Fan and second Old Master Fan confess to the shopkeepers that their sister had provoked Madame Xiao, leading to her retaliatory actions? All they could do was offer reassurance to the shopkeepers, urging them not to fret. If the issue wasn't significant, the Fan family would resolve it swiftly. However, to forestall any potential trouble, they would advise their employees to be more alert and proactive. Moreover, they should strive to avoid confrontation. If troublemakers showed up, they should be promptly escorted off the premises, regardless of the cost. Upon hearing this, the shopkeepers grew increasingly uneasy. They were astute individuals who could discern that something significant must have occurred. The more evasive their employers' responses, the graver the situation. Exchanging glances, the shopkeepers refrained from asking further questions. With the proprietors adopting such a stance, even if they inquired, they wouldn't receive the true reason. Thus, they resigned themselves to following their boss's instructions. Once the shopkeepers had departed, the expressions of the two old masters of the Fan family soured, their anger bubbling to the surface. How could this happen? Why are you so surprised? Second Old Master Fan cast a glance at his elder brother. That's Madame Xiao for you. Can Lord Xiao tolerate someone bullying or humiliating his wife? It's no different from a slap in the face. And perhaps he's harbored animosity toward our family for some time. This time he even went out of his way to give them a handle against him. Sister-in-law may have a point. But was she really a sister? She seemed more like a troublemaker. It wasn't just a matter of tolerating or despising her, it was about acting in the family's best interest. She had always been headstrong, disregarding the consequences of her actions. In the past that was acceptable. After all, in Anne's province, the Fan family didn't need to kowtow to anyone. Even now they didn't need to. Except for Lord Xiao, who was different from previous prefect lords. But to provoke someone they couldn't afford to offend? Wasn't that reckless? What could the Fan family do? Lord Xiao had wealth, power, and held a significant government position. Did she lack common sense? The brothers couldn't speak ill of their sister too much. After a sigh and some discussion, they sought out their mother. Old Lady Fan was both shocked and furious upon hearing the news. This Lord Xiao is despicable. He's abusing his authority for personal vendettas, using his position to exact revenge. Is there no justice in this world? Does he think the Fan family is an easy target? The two brothers exchanged silent glances. It seemed they understood the roots of their sister's temperament. Blaming her alone wasn't entirely fair. Mom, let's handle this quietly. Don't spread the word. Lord Xiao might not be involved, First Old Master Fan suggested. Old Lady Fan scoffed. Do you think I'm naive? I can see through it. First Old Master Fan rubbed his tired forehead. Even if that's the case, without evidence, accusing an official falsely is a serious offense. When Lord Xiao sends officials to our door to arrest or punish, it'll be within his rights. Old Lady Fan was about to rail against Lord Xiao, but she halted, realizing that Lord Xiao was quite audacious. Chapter 1861, Is the Fan family that shameless? Is there no one who can rein him in? Old Lady Fan expressed her dissatisfaction. Then a sneer crossed her face. He's just a disgraced official banished from the capital. I've heard he's clashed with the nobility there and holds a middling position. Who doesn't know his background and who fears him? Prepare a lavish gift and head to Huaishi province to meet the Lord. Let's see how he reacts when we bring Lord Xiao down. I'm curious to know. The two old masters exchanged puzzled glances. What was their mother thinking? An's province was the most remote region in Huaishi province, separated by rugged mountains and difficult terrain. It had long been infested with bandits, earning a reputation as a lawless area. The provincial capital rarely paid it any attention. Even taxes were scarcely collected. The local officials were hardly ever bothered unless something major happened. Sending them to the provincial capital to confront the prefectural magistrate seemed like a fool's errand. The magistrate would likely be grateful as long as nothing went wrong in An's province. Touching the affairs of An's province would be the last thing on his mind. It seemed rather impractical and futile for the Fan family to try to assert themselves in this manner. The Fan family held considerable influence in An's province, but their power didn't extend as easily to the provincial capital. Gaining access to the prefectural magistrate's office, let alone influencing his decisions, would be no simple feat. Had their mother lost her senses? First Old Master Fan and Second Old Master Fan felt a heavy sense of dismay. What was driving their mother to confront the prefect lord so boldly? Was she prepared to engage in a battle of wills with such a powerful figure? Mother, we must consider this carefully, First Old Master Fan began, attempting to reason with her. Our family lacks the necessary connections with the prefect lord. It won't be easy to sway his decisions. We need to approach this situation with caution. Old Lady Fan's tone turned icy. I understand your concerns. You think him being meddlesome and rash. But can't you see that Prefect Xiao is deliberately targeting our family? First he detained you, then he imposed a hefty fine. Madame Xiao is clearly stirring up trouble and using it as an excuse to interfere with our family's business. Do you truly believe that a mere apology will suffice? I agree, Second Old Master Fan interjected. This prefect seems incredibly vindictive. He won't be satisfied until he sees the downfall of our family. And he can easily find any excuse to target us. Why should we willingly subject ourselves to his bullying? You need to rein in your temper. Old Lady Fan bristled at her son's retort. Don't talk back to me. I mean no disrespect, Mother, Second Old Master Fan responded, undeterred. But let's be honest, we tried to keep this matter low-key, but it got out somehow. It's not surprising that we faced consequences. Besides, if Rian hadn't impulsively intervened at yesterday's banquet, things might not have escalated to this extent. Enough of your lectures. Old Lady Fan snapped. I apologize, Mother. I'll stay out of this matter as well, Second Old Master Fan conceded. But regarding your suggestion for elder brother to visit the provincial capital, I must dissent. It's not so simple to gain access to the magistrate's office. We risk only inviting further humiliation. Chapter 1862. In not going, this isn't just about humiliation. It's likely to cost us a considerable amount of money, with no guarantee of a favorable outcome. Prefect Xiao may be reasonable, but who knows what kind of person the Lord Prefect is? Remarked Second Old Master Fan, expressing his concerns. Old Lady Fan's anger flared. You, are your wife behind this? How dare you speak to me like that? You ungrateful son. The accusation caught Second Old Master Fan off guard. Mother, what are you implying? I haven't discussed this matter with her at all. And she wouldn't have the audacity. Old Lady Fan sneered, suspicion evident in her eyes. Behind my back, who's to say you aren't plotting against me? Second Old Master Fan fell silent, his expression darkening. Attempting to diffuse the tension, First Old Master Fan interjected, Mother, let's focus on the issue at hand. Old Lady Fan fixed him with a stern gaze. Are you blaming me now? Are you and your brother teaming up against me? First Old Master Fan. For the first time, the brothers felt that their mother was really senile and could not communicate at all. First Old Master Fan realized that appeasing Xiao Yunduan was crucial to protect the family's interests. He understood the delicate balance between maintaining their dignity and avoiding further conflict with the prefect's office. Despite his mother's stubbornness, he knew he had to act swiftly to address the situation before it escalated further. Sending someone to apologize to Qiao Xian was a necessary step to mitigate the potential repercussions on their business. In the face of Xiao Yunduan's influence and power, it was essential for the Fan family to navigate the situation carefully. Failure to do so could result in dire consequences for their livelihood and reputation. Therefore, despite the internal disagreements and tensions within the family, First Old Master Fan remained resolute in his determination to find a solution and protect the family's interests. Fan Ruyan's insistence on not going to apologize added more tension to the already strained situation. Her tears and accusations only fueled the frustration of her family members, who were growing increasingly exasperated with her behavior. Realizing that their attempts to reason with her were futile, the two old masters of the Fan family resorted to stern measures, threatening to physically compel her to fulfill her obligation. This ultimatum left Fan Ruyan feeling trapped and helpless, further intensifying her emotional turmoil. Desperate for support, Fan Ruyan sought solace from her mother, hoping for intervention. However, to her dismay, the family's servants intervened, preventing her from seeking refuge with Old Lady Fan and effectively isolating her from potential support. In this volatile atmosphere, tensions ran high, and the resolution of the conflict seemed increasingly elusive. Fan Ruyan's realization of her brother's seriousness struck her deeply, prompting a surge of shock, anger, and resentment. Her cries and accusations were fueled by a sense of betrayal and abandonment, as she felt her brothers had prioritized their wives over their own family. For the brothers, these accusations were not entirely new. They had heard similar complaints from Fan Ruyan in the past, but they had dismissed them as mere grievances. However, in this moment, they couldn't help but wonder if there was truth to her words. The weight of Fan Ruyan's accusations pierced through their hearts, leaving them feeling a chilling sense of realization. They began to question whether their past efforts to support and protect her had been in vain, and whether their kindness had indeed been taken for granted. Chapter 1863. Seeing Gustav, Fan Ruyan reluctantly bowed her head, feeling the weight of resentment heavy upon her shoulders. Accompanied by First Madame Fan, she trudged toward the backyard gate of the state office. Though the entrances were unguarded, Xianxia's indifferent demeanor made their passage tense. As First Madame Fan exchanged pleasantries with Xianxia, Fan Ruyan's countenance remained clouded with distress. Ignoring her sister-in-law's attempts to prompt her, she trailed behind with a sullen expression. Internally, First Madame Fan seethed with frustration. She recognized Fan Ruyan's ploy to manipulate her into speaking on her behalf, a tactic she found repulsive. Determined to reveal the truth to her patriarch, First Madame Fan resolved to confront the situation head-on. With a forced smile masking her irritation, she gently nudged Fan Ruyan forward, her voice laced with feigned congeniality. "Remember your plea at home? You implored me to accompany you and extend apologies to Madame Xiao. Yet here you stand silent. Why this sudden reticence?" Caught off guard, Fan Ruyan shot a brief, accusatory glare at her sister-in-law. She begrudgingly faced Xianxia, swallowing her pride. "Madame Xiao, please accept my sincerest apologies for my misguided actions the other day. I regret my words in defense of Mrs. Guan, which undoubtedly caused you distress. Euro." "Silence," Xianxia interjected, her voice dripping with disdain. "What exactly do you think you're accomplishing here? Are you here to offer apologies, or to cast aspersions on my character? Do you take me for a fool attempting to deceive me with hollow words?" "Madame Xiao, please, you've misunderstood." First Madame Fan interjected desperately, attempting to defuse the escalating tension. "She's simply not eloquent. We sincerely came to offer our apologies today. Please forgive us." "Sincerity?" Xianxia scoffed. "Your sincerity is as empty as your words. Take your gifts and leave. I won't entertain such insincere apologies." Lichio, escort our guests out," she commanded coldly. "Madame Xiao, please reconsider your First Madame Fan pleaded, but her words fell on deaf ears as Lichio ushered them out, their expressions reflecting their displeasure. Humiliated and enraged, First Madame Fan couldn't contain her fury any longer. As they boarded the carriage, her frustration boiled over, and she delivered a resounding slap to Fan Ruyan's cheek. Fan Ruyan recoiled in shock, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Euro, enough." First Madame Fan snapped, her finger pointed accusingly. "This is all you're doing. If harm befalls the Fan family, it's because of your reckless words. You've brought nothing but chaos upon us. I knew this day would come." Fan Ruyan winced as she clutched her stinging cheek, her gaze fixated on First Madame Fan with seething resentment. Once, she would have erupted in fury, retaliating against First Madame Fan with all her might. Yet today an inexplicable restraint held her back. This newfound inhibition only fueled the flames of hatred burning within her. Observing Fan Ruyan's smoldering glare, First Madame Fan's anger flared even hotter. With another forceful blow she spat out coldly, "You dare to hate me? What right do you have? You, the very source of the Fan family's troubles. Fan Rian's trembling intensified, torn between her raging impulses and a newfound fear. The echoes of her inner turmoil reverberated, screaming for vengeance, yet she couldn't muster the courage to act upon them. She was paralyzed by her own apprehension, her impulses silenced by a chilling dread. Chapter 1864. The Fan family is indeed dead. First Madame Fan paid no heed to Fan Rian's protests as she retreated to the safety of the mansion. She promptly instructed her trusted servant to escort Fan Rian back to her quarters and ensure she remained there. Fuming with indignation, Fan Rian attempted to voice her grievances to her mother, but her resolve faltered. Who are you to confine me like this? You're nothing but a conniving, malicious woman. First Madame Fan's smirk held a chilling edge. I am the matriarch of the Fan family, the wife of the eldest son. I granted you leniency, but don't mistake it for weakness. What entitlement do you have to raise your voice against me? A malicious woman like you has no right to lecture me. Your lack of manners is appalling. You dare Euro. First Madame Fan's retort was cut short as she motioned for the servants to remove Fan Rian. Escort her away and ensure she's kept in check. If you fail, don't expect any leniency from me. The servants, startled by the exchange, swiftly complied. They understood that despite Fan Rian's status, First Madame Fan held the authority as the rightful mistress of the Fan family. Meanwhile, First Madame Fan approached First Old Master Fan with a somber expression, recounting the events with a sense of dismay. Upon hearing her account, First Old Master Fan's temper flared. He couldn't help but question his decision to allow Fan Rian to apologize. It seemed she had transcended mere stubbornness and ventured into sheer folly. How could they possibly save face for Madame Xiao? Li Xiao and Li Qiu fumed in the east courtyard of the prefect's residence, their voices laced with indignation. Qiao Xian's smile was tinged with satisfaction. It appears the downfall of the Fan family is inevitable. With Fan Rian's abrasive demeanor, it was no surprise how many enemies she had accrued over the years. She seemed destined for comeuppance. The Fan family, though esteemed in An's province, was not without its transgressions. Their reputation for fairness was dubious, especially with Fan Rian's involvement. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian felt little remorse about taking action against them. Their vendetta against the Fan clan would serve as a cautionary tale. In contrast, Mrs. Guan, despite her own troublesomeness, exercised more discretion. Following the banquet debacle, she wisely refrained from stirring further trouble. Too intimidated to confront the Fan family directly, she opted to keep her distance. Without solid evidence, her grievances would likely fall on deaf ears. Neither Qiao Xian nor Xiao Yunduan could intervene on her behalf, and Mrs. Jia remained steadfast in her own convictions. Without irrefutable proof, Mrs. Guan's plight remained unresolved. In plain terms, the lawsuit was a mess, mired in ambiguity and subjectivity. Its outcome hinged solely on the whims of the higher-ups. Mrs. Guan could only begrudgingly swallow her pride, seething with both anger and despair. A bracelet worth 400 taels of silver, discarded in a fit of rage, served as a painful reminder of her folly. The ensuing humiliation and frustration left her empty-handed. She dared not confide in her old master, fearing another round of reprimands. In her desperation, Mrs. Guan harbored hopes for the Fan family's supremacy over the mountain bandits. If they prevailed, Xiao and Madame Xiao would be rendered powerless, and Mrs. Jia would lose her influence. However, Mrs. Jia and her husband's lack of foresight astounded her. How long could Xiao remain as the prefect? Their future in An's province was uncertain, with no contingency plan in place. Unexpectedly, Fan Rian humbled herself the following day, kneeling at the back office entrance in a state of contrition. Chapter 1865. Sincerity. Despite the back office entrance being a secluded spot, Fan Rian's kneeling quickly drew a crowd, their whispers and gestures fueling her growing embarrassment and resentment. Her emotions churned within her, oscillating between fury and frustration. She hadn't anticipated this outcome. Her brother's indifference cut her deeply. Upon receiving the unexpected report, Xiao Xian summoned Fan Rian, expressing surprise at her apparent sincerity. Rare indeed. I hadn't expected such earnestness from Mrs. Bai, Xiao Xian remarked, her tone measured. Yet, beneath the surface, skepticism lingered. Fan Rian's abrupt change of heart seemed suspicious. Was her family pressuring her? First Madame Fan and the others were certainly capable of such manipulation. To Fan Rian, Xiao Xian's words felt like a taunt, a reminder of her defeat at the hands of her adversaries. The urge to lash out surged within her, but she swallowed it back, recalling her brother's aloof demeanor and icy words. It was my fault before. I owe you an apology, Fan Rian began, her voice tinged with contrition. This time I sincerely apologize. Please forgive me. Xiao Xian regarded her with a cool gaze, her response measured. I can discern sincerity, Mrs. Bai. Today you have shown respect, and that is a form of sincerity. Acknowledging your mistakes is commendable. But be mindful of your actions and words in the future. Another misstep will have consequences. Xiao Xian remained seated as Fan Rian knelt, enduring the humiliation of her reprimand in silence, her fists clenched tightly as she hung her head in resignation. Feeling a simmering indignity, Fan Rian interpreted Xiao Xian's words as a tacit agreement to her chastisement. But it was too much. Xiao Xian's smile was indifferent as she dismissed Fan Rian. Enough. Rise and depart. This matter is concluded. Take your gift with you, it matters little to me. Without a word, Fan Rian complied and exited, escorted by Li Qiu. His demeanor, however, was frosty as he issued a thinly veiled warning. Our madam is merciful and compassionate. Another wouldn't have let you off so easily. Mrs. Bai, why the hostility? Isn't it ill-fated? Fan Rian's glare bore into Lycius, her patience wearing thin. Why should she tolerate the judgment of a mere servant? Lycius' sneer only stoked her ire. And who are you to judge me? The Xiao family's decorum is hardly impeccable. Mrs. Bai, spare us your lectures. You who showed disrespect to our madam, have no right to dictate decorum. We as servants are obliged to uphold her honor. You, on the other hand, lack the standing to critique the Xiao family's upbringing. Your previous apology speaks volumes about your own manners or lack thereof. Anger flared in Fan Rian's eyes. You dare speak to me in such a manner? A mere servant. Mrs. Bai, I implore you to reconsider. What authority does someone lacking propriety possess to criticize others? Your disrespect towards our madam cannot be ignored, and as servants, it is our duty to address it. You are hardly qualified to assess the upbringing of the Xiao family. While you may have forgotten the demeanor of your previous apology, we remember it vividly. Your own conduct leaves much to be desired, Mrs. Bai, Li Qiu admonished sternly. Fan Rian seethed with rage. Fine, just fine. Today I've seen their true colors. Storming out of the prefect's office, she maintained a frigid exterior despite the turmoil within. Returning to the Fan family compound, she retreated to her quarters, dismissing the servants and collapsing onto her bed in tears. She loathed it all. Her brother's callousness cut her to the core. Her two sister-in-laws harbored disdain for her all these years, yet she remained oblivious. But what stung the most was Madame Xiao's deliberate humiliation, exacerbated by her brother and sister-in-law's insistence on her acceptance of such degradation. Chapter 1866. Battle in the giant rock gorge. An's province wasn't a place they should linger, yet circumstances compelled them to remain. Fan Rian's tears flowed unabated, fueling her deep-seated hatred. As her anguish intensified, a glimmer of ruthlessness sparked in her eyes. She clenched her fists so tightly that her sharp nails threatened to pierce her skin, yet she remained oblivious to the pain. Counting her private funds, Fan Rian withdrew 1,000 taels of silver from her stash. After deliberation, she set aside 500 taels along with 2 thumbnail-sized rubies, still unmounted. A chilling smile tugged at her lips. Surely this sum was sufficient to procure a life? Furthermore, with Lord Xiao's unyielding stance against the bandits, their retaliation was inevitable. By expediting their attack with additional funds, she hoped for the demise of Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. At least one of them. Fan Rian swiftly dispatched her funds to the key figures of the Tiger Head tribe. Their selection was deliberate, as it was common knowledge in An's prefecture that the tribe's second-in-command had suffered significant losses at the hands of Prefect Xiao's constables. Once the items were delivered, the nanny relayed to the Tiger Head tribe that they had been received with satisfaction, and Fan Rian's request was acknowledged. This brought her some semblance of relief. Fan Rian's actions were underhanded, a deceitful ploy. Meanwhile, a convoy of provisions gathered from Liangshan town was already forming a lengthy procession, escorted by Sun Bai and Sun Qian from Liangshan town to the city of An's prefecture. The 3 villages eagerly awaited their chance to strike in the giant rock gorge. The ensuing battle was unexpectedly fierce. What they had perceived as a primary target turned out to be mere bait. They were the prey, unaware of the predator lurking in the Shidao. The alliance between the Min family tribe, Liuhe Fort, and Tiger Head tribe was formidable. Their objective was clear: to humble the haughty Lord Prefect and shatter his confidence, rendering his authority a mockery. Their combined forces, numbering over 100 strong, posed a significant threat. Despite Xiao Yunduan's skilled constables, they were outnumbered and outmatched. Aware of the ineptitude of the bailiffs in An's province, the three villages believed victory would be swift once they overpowered or eliminated Xiao Yunduan's constables. However, their expectations were shattered upon reaching the giant rock gorge. Instead of a triumphant slaughter, they encountered a living nightmare. This battle became an indelible stain on the reputation of the three villages. Despite their meticulous planning and caution, they underestimated the strength and resilience of their opponents. The bailiffs proved to be a formidable force, quickly regrouping and coordinating their efforts against the attackers. Despite being outnumbered, they held their ground, forming defensive formations and countering every assault. Even more disconcerting were the unknown experts among the bailiffs, whose ferocity and precision surpassed anything the attackers had encountered before. In the heat of battle, they found themselves outmatched and overwhelmed, their every move ruthlessly countered. Chapter 1867. Wild and arrogant. This time proved markedly different from their previous encounter. The members of the Tiger Head tribe were stunned, realizing they had underestimated their opponents before and had been caught off guard once again. But there was more to their shock. Who was that masked expert? Their presence had caught them completely unawares, leaving them utterly unprepared. The bandits of the three strongholds, already shaken by the intensity of the battle, found themselves dumbfounded. When had these newcomers entered in Zizhou? How had they gone unnoticed? The palpable aura of battle prowess emanating from these individuals surpassed even that of seasoned mountain bandits like themselves. They had the air of seasoned warriors hardened by countless battles on the battlefield. These were no ordinary bailiffs or martial artists. They were soldiers, veterans of the battlefield. The bandits, initially surprised, now felt genuine terror. What formidable force had they provoked? It became evident why Xiao Yunduan exuded such audacity and pride. As their comrades fell around them, the remaining mountain bandits dared not continue the fight. With panicked whistles they scattered and fled. Their escape, however, was short-lived. Ambushed along their route, they found themselves facing a small but skilled group of adversaries. Despite their best efforts, the bandits were swiftly overwhelmed and scattered in defeat. At the conclusion of the battle, only a scant dozen managed to stagger back to their village, their ranks decimated and their spirits shattered. Panic and fear gripped every survivor, their sorry state a testament to the ferocity of the conflict. Second-in-charge Chao, esteemed leader of the Tiger Head tribe, fell victim to the chaotic flurry of swords. The third-in-charge of the Min family tribe and the second-in-command of Liuhe Fort were apprehended by the officials, while the remaining small leaders who failed to escape met their end on the battlefield. As the defeated soldiers retreated in disarray, the leaders of the three villages convened in the intermediate Tiger Head tribe, nearest to the giant rock gorge. Eager anticipation filled the air as they awaited news of the battle's outcome, their hearts buoyed by hope. Unexpectedly, they received shocking news that made them feel as if they were in a dream. It was like a bolt from the blue. Everyone was stunned by this news. So much so that his eyes and mouth were wide open, and he stood there in a daze for a long time. Second brother, how is it possibly a Euro? I don't believe it. How can that dog official's subordinate be so capable? The third in charge of Tiger Head tribe shouted angrily with a pale face. He suddenly grabbed a man who had escaped and punched him twice. He grabbed him and asked sternly. Then he was scared out of his wits. He stuttered and trembled, but he did not dare to Liuro. There was no way he could lie about such a thing. In the end, the third in charge kicked him away dumbfounded. The others weren't any better. The atmosphere in the rough intermediate hall was oppressive, angry, and sad. How dare you? If I don't take revenge, the heavens won't tolerate it. Revenge. Revenge. Everyone was furious. After a round of cursing, the third in charge of Tiger Head tribe angrily wanted to bring people down the mountain to take revenge. It was not easy for everyone to persuade him. Of course, revenge was imperative. However, the challenge lay in devising a plan for vengeance. Moreover, with members of the Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort captured and imprisoned in the state government prison, their priority was their rescue. They needed to secure their release before seeking revenge. Otherwise, if their enemies decided to retaliate by harming or killing the captives, their efforts would be in vain. The third in charge of Tiger Head tribe wore a grim expression. Though reluctant, he had no choice but to heed the necessity of saving their comrades. Given that this operation was a joint effort among the three clans, he couldn't act unilaterally. Furthermore, both the Min family tribe and Liuhe Fort held greater power than Tiger Head tribe, making it unwise to provoke them unnecessarily. Chapter 1868. Afraid of taking action, the third in charge of the Tiger Head tribe seethed with resentment and fury. I believe the dog officials will undoubtedly use them as bait. How do we rescue this individual? Storm the prison? I won't object, no matter what course of action you propose. His words dripped with bitterness and ire, causing the faces of everyone present to darken. Storming the prison was out of the question. The defenses at the giant rock gorge were meticulously laid out, and their forces had been decimated in their previous attempt. They couldn't even dream of infiltrating enemy territory. The recent defeat had been devastating, particularly for the Tiger Head tribe, which had already suffered significant losses before. Second-in-charge Chao's retaliatory expedition had only worsened their plight, costing him his life and leaving only 2 survivors from the tribe. With more than 2/3 of their elite warriors gone, the notion of breaking into the prison was ludicrous. Despite their reluctance to accept it, they had to acknowledge their limitations. Their actions knew no bounds. While avenging the fallen second-in-charge was a daunting task, their initial response was brutal and easy, a spree of massacre and pillage. They didn't dare breach the walls of An's city or confront Xiaoyunduan directly, but unarmed villagers were fair game in their eyes. To them, the villages were mere lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They could take lives at whim, as many as they pleased, with the government powerless to stop them. Their violence and plunder knew no bounds. Yet, they made sure to leave a few villagers alive, spinning a tale of retribution against the lord of the prefect. They blamed him for the calamity, citing his vicious actions against their brethren as justification for the villagers' suffering and demise. For years, peace had prevailed. But with the arrival of the lord of the prefect, disaster followed. They argued that to reclaim tranquility, the lord of the prefect must be driven away. Otherwise, unless he possessed the means to eradicate them all, they would endure endless torment, a cycle of harassment, pillage and bloodshed. The specter of revenge would be looming over every resident of An's provincia. Should such an atrocity occur, those displaced citizens would undoubtedly harbor deep animosity toward Xiaoyunduan, leaving him in a precarious position. In response, influential families would clandestinely unite, potentially preventing Xiaoyunduan from assuming the role of prefect altogether. He might face severe censure and accusations of recklessness, accused of disrupting the delicate local equilibrium without considering the consequences. His eagerness to make a mark had led to a catastrophic loss of life and untold suffering. Yet, amidst the chaos, survivors from the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort languished in captivity. Should the Tiger Head tribe unleash their vengeance upon the populace, these captives would surely suffer as well, a scenario intolerable to the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort. The Tiger Head tribe couldn't afford such Machiavellian schemes. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe sneered with sinister intent. We have options aplenty. With careful planning, not only can we rescue our kin, but we may also exact retribution upon that vile official. Didn't that official recently welcome a son into the world? Perhaps we should visit his wife and child with our wrath. Brother Qing, what strategy do you propose? Waste no time in enlightening us, implored the Min family's leader. Chapter 1869. Method. Brother Qing spoke up. That woman from the Fan family reached out to us just 2 days ago. Let's seek her out once more. And Deputy Prefect Guan is known to be approachably a His words left everyone stunned. But gradually, their eyes sparkled with understanding. The news of the bloody skirmish at Giant Rock Gorge quickly permeated An's prefecture city. While the common folk rejoiced, the various families trembled in fear, resigned to accepting the grim reality. Among them, those who had once dallied with the mountain bandits and clandestine dealings felt a shiver of apprehension, like birds startled by the twang of a bowstring. They were plagued by deep unease, fearing a resurgence of their past entanglements. Previously, they hadn't dared to underestimate the lord of the prefect, recognizing his capabilities and refraining from provoking him lightly. Now, their reverence for him swelled from the depths of their souls. Yet, the most rattled by these events were the members of the Fan family. First Old Master Fan and Second Old Master Fan possessed intimate knowledge of the situation and were gripped by intense fear. Even Old Lady Fan, typically stubborn and eager to undermine Xiaoyunduan, remained conspicuously silent on the matter. Fan Rian never imagined that the Tiger Head tribe would come knocking at her door. They tasked her with arranging for Madame Xiao to leave the city and notify them once the date was confirmed. Fan Rian felt a twinge of fear. While she wished ill upon Xiao Xian, she balked at direct involvement in such matters. She had already expended considerable sums when initially declining their proposition. Having paid the Tiger Head tribe, she expected them to fulfill their end of the bargain. Why should she be dragged into this personally? Yet, could she reason with the Tiger Head tribe? By willingly engaging with them, she had unwittingly entangled herself, akin to crossing the Rubicon and now seeking to backtrack. But this wasn't her decision to make. The tribe employed both subtle persuasion and coercive tactics. Refusal might invite dire consequences. Even as a member of the prestigious Fan family, one of the region's 3 major clans, she recognized the tribe's ability to deal with an ordinary individual like herself. Fan Rian was both shocked and incensed, yet she dared not defy the Tiger Head tribe's demands. Only now did she grasp the formidable force she had provoked. Initially, she had rationalized the bandits' actions as born of necessity, believing them to possess innate goodness. But now, faced with their coercion, she felt a pang of regret, wishing ill upon Xianxia. Forced by the tribe's pressure, Fan Rian humbled herself, reaching out to reconcile with her sister-in-law and second sister-in-law. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan were taken aback but soon recognized her newfound contrition. Though her demeanor remained somewhat awkward, it marked a significant improvement. Previously, she would never have initiated such gentle and polite conversation with them. Feeling both relieved and moved, the 2 madams of the Fan family contemplated how they could have altered their approach years ago, realizing that persuasion, not confrontation, might have been more effective. Their sister-in-law's lack of repentance and escalating recklessness had dragged the Fan clan towards an irreversible path of ruin. Having made amends with her sister-in-laws, Fan Rian seized the opportunity to extend an invitation to Xianxia. I admit fault for the incident at the banquet. It was a grave mistake and I deeply regret its consequences. Chapter 1870. Knowing her mistake, in all our years the Fan family has never encountered such a situation. The Bright Moon Villa in the southern suburbs boasts picturesque landscapes, perfect for leisurely activities. I wish to extend an invitation to Madame Xiao and a few other madams to enjoy the scenery. It's also an opportunity for me to offer my sincere apologies to Madame Xiao and mend any grievances between us. Sister-in-laws, I implore your assistance in this matter. It's for the betterment of our Fan family. The 2 Madame Fans harbored no suspicions upon hearing this proposal. Upon reflection they deemed it a splendid idea. First Madame Fan in particular, nodded with genuine agreement. Absolutely. Though I hesitate to admit it, we must tread carefully around Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Consider the events at Giant Rock Gorge. Hundreds of bandits fell to Lord Xiao's forces. Their leader is either dead or incarcerated. Only a handful managed to flee. Those bandits were formidable, yet Lord Xiao proved even more formidable. It would be unwise to provoke him. Madame Xiao has endured much from our family. It's imperative that you extend a sincere apology during this outing. Let's hope Madame Xiao is merciful and refrains from targeting our Fan family in the future. Feeling a twinge of guilt, Fan Rian dared not dispute First Madame Fan's counsel. She offered a forced smile and humbly acknowledged her lesson learned. Seeing Fan Rian's newfound humility, First Madame Fan was greatly pleased and decided to treat her with kindness. Fan Rian was ecstatic and wasted no time in urging First Madame Fan to set a date for the gathering in the coming days. With the weather being favorable, she emphasized the importance of not delaying the arrangements. First Madame Fan readily agreed. The following day she approached Xianxia in the backyard of the state office, extending the invitation with a warm smile. She invited Xianxia to join them at the Bright Moon Villa in the southern suburbs in 2 days' time. The weather is delightful, perfect for a leisurely outing. Our estate boasts splendid scenery, and I invite Madame Xiao to experience it firsthand. Additionally, I wish to express my sincerest apologies for the incident at the banquet. I also hope Madame Xiao will grant us the opportunity to sketch together. Xianxia graciously accepted the invitation with a smile, assuring her presence. First Madame Fan was elated. Showering Xianxia with compliments, she departed with a contented smile. Since the harrowing events at Giant Rock Gorge, numerous ladies had come to pay their respects to Xianxia. She could discern a palpable shift in their attitudes towards her, marked by newfound respect and admiration. In the past, politeness may have been merely superficial, but now it emanated from the depths of their hearts and bones. Liqiao and the others rejoiced for their old master and madam. Their old master's competence surpassed mere appearances, rendering superficial displays obsolete. They dared anyone to belittle their madam. Henceforth upon Xiao Yunduan's return for lunch, Xianxia relayed First Madame Fan's invitation to venture outside the city for scenic enjoyment and a visit to their estate. Xiao Yunduan's expression soured. The Fan family knows no bounds. Inviting you out of the city for a leisurely excursion euro, I can't fathom their intentions. Don't entertain it. His wife wasn't naive. Even within the city limits, Xiao Yunduan couldn't assert complete safety, let alone venture beyond its walls. Having decisively quashed the village's arrogance this time, inflicting heavy losses and debilitating their strength, he knew they would harbor intense animosity. Chapter 1871. Apologize and treatment. Now was the time for strict vigilance, raising their guard to the utmost level. They couldn't afford to let their defenses waver in the slightest. Xiao Yunduan was adamant about safeguarding his wife. Having tasted the anguish of almost losing her once, he refused to endure it again. I don't trust the Fan family's intentions. Let's not be swayed. Bright Moon Villa can wait. Well, go wherever you wish after we've dealt with the bandits, he declared, a smile on his lips. Inwardly, Xianxia sighed. She yearned to accept the invitation. Even her husband's caution couldn't deter this opportunity that had presented itself on the day of the giant rock gorge incident. She had fervently wished to go. Disguised, who would recognize her as the prefect's wife? With her presence, victory would have been assured, and none of the enemy would have escaped. No one would slip through her grasp. But she couldn't risk it. As the prefect's wife, venturing to such places was out of the question. Thus, she could only await news anxiously in the government office alongside Xiao Yunduan, who shared her apprehension. Thankfully, her hopes weren't dashed yet. This time, an opportunity had presented itself directly to Xiao Yunduan's doorstep. Naturally, he felt compelled to seize it. Xiao Xian tugged at Xiao Yunduan's sleeves, pleading, "Husband, please let me go. I can have Yi accompany us with some men. Those mountain bandits won't stand a chance if they dare to show themselves. And with prisoners in the state office's jail, they wouldn't dare to make a move. Come on, let's see if the Fan family is human or Gastiero." Xiao Yunduan's brow furrowed. No. It's too perilous. There's undoubtedly something amiss with the Fan family's invitation. Stop insisting. I won't allow you to take such a risk. Xiao Yunduan couldn't shake the feeling that the Fan family's invitation harbored ulterior motives. Xiao Yunduan couldn't afford to believe that the Fan family's intentions were purely benevolent. In a place like An's province, trusting all the prominent families was a risk he couldn't take. Anyone could have been in league with the mountain bandits, driven by coercion or fear of past grievances resurfacing. Xiao Xian longed to confide in him about her unique abilities, but she held back. The prospect was too daunting. She didn't want her husband to view her differently from now on. Despite Xiao Xian's pleading and various attempts to sway him, Xiao Yunduan remained steadfast in his refusal to let her go. Disappointment and discontent clouded Xiao Xian's expression. Xiao Yunduan, torn between amusement and frustration, embraced her tenderly, attempting to console her. Darling, I promise to accompany you on a trip next spring, when the centaurea blossoms and the landscapes are resplendent. Isn't that scenery more enticing? I've already devised a plan to apprehend the remaining mountain bandits before the new year. They won't linger until then. Just be patient. Xiao Xian was at a loss for words. Was her disappointment solely due to missing out on the scenery? It wasn't merely about that, though she did enjoy venturing into the mountains in search of treasures and game. It was something more profound. She yearned to share his burdens and actively contribute to significant endeavors. It felt like an immense waste to sideline her talents. Xiao Yunduan had confidence in I's prowess. With a handful of skilled followers and in the Fan family's territory, he doubted the Fan family would openly collude with the mountain bandits. With proper precautions, he believed nothing would go amiss. Chapter 1872. Secretly going unable to sway Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xian resigned herself to taking action first and informing him later. With Xiao Yunduan preoccupied by the ongoing efforts to capture the remaining bandits and maintain order in An City, the government office buzzed with tension and urgency. Countless discussions and meetings filled the days. Hence, Xiao Xian instructed the nanny to look after her son, claiming she was going shopping in the streets. In reality, she departed the city with Mian and Yi, heading for Bright Moon Villa. While bringing Yi along wasn't paramount, it would undoubtedly reassure her husband if he knew. Bright Moon Villa bustled with activity that day. Early in the morning, first Madame Fan and her sister-in-law, Fan Rian, arrived with their daughters in tow. Despite having meticulously prepared and even hosted a banquet to extend their apologies to Xiao Xian, they remained vigilant, lest any oversight sour her mood once more. For what if Xiao Xian construed any misstep as deliberate? They couldn't afford to tarnish their reputation. Despite their fatigue and worries, they remained committed to executing their tasks flawlessly. Throughout the morning, Fan Rian drifted in a daze, her mind wandering aimlessly. At one point, second Mrs. Fan had to urge her to speak louder, startling her in the process. Reflecting on this later, both First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Fan berated themselves for failing to notice Fan Rian's obvious abnormality. They assumed her apprehension stemmed from concerns about Xiao Xian's acceptance of their apology. Realizing their earlier strictness might have instilled fear in Fan Rian, they felt a pang of guilt and sought to comfort her. "Sister, don't fret. Madame Xiao will surely accept your genuine apology. We're by your side and you won't face this alone." "That's right." Madame Xiao's agreement to come signifies her lack of intent to oppose the Fan family. "I won't say much, but ever since Madame Xiao arrived in An's province, she hasn't exhibited any domineering behavior or deliberately made things difficult for anyone. Except for Mrs. Guan, of course. She brought it upon herself." Exactly a Fan Rian found no comfort in their words. She felt her sister-in-laws were too noisy, and their remarks made her feel like she was scolding a locust for no reason. Growing increasingly distraught, she responded with nonchalance, trying to calm her mind with casual indifference. Around 10:30, Xiao Xian arrived at Bright Moon Villa. The carriage pulled directly into the manor, prompting First Madame Fan and others to rush out to greet them. All the guests, aside from the Fan family hostesses, gathered to welcome Xiao Xian with smiles, displaying respect in their friendly demeanor. Noticing this, Xiao Xian felt a mixture of amusement and emotion. She was even prouder her husband's influence was so significant that he could finally command the respect of these people. However, this was just the beginning, the ordeal was far from over. This was the most critical moment with no room for error. Chapter 1873, Can't Dislike It, Can't Kill It. Xiao Xian, however, harbored a wish for the banquet to be less enjoyable, perhaps even attracting more bandits. Upon catching sight of Xiao Xian, a surge of both old and fresh resentment flooded Fan Rian's heart, momentarily eclipsing her anxiety. She pressed her lips together tightly, shooting Xiao Xian a frigid glare before bowing her head and dutifully trailing behind First Madame Fan. That was the extent of her efforts. She couldn't vie for Xiao Xian's favor like the opportunists. To avoid complicating matters further, she chose silence. First Madame Fan greeted her with a smile and a discreet wink, signaling for her to impress Madame Xiao. But her sister-in-law seemed too rattled by recent events to notice the gesture, nervously keeping her gaze lowered. First Madame Fan couldn't afford to be too overt, fearing it might backfire or require coercion. Any verbal misstep due to nerves could be disastrous. Xiao Xian saw through Fan Rian's facade immediately. Fan Rian's demeanor remained unchanged, merely concealed beneath a veneer of composure. Xiao Xian hadn't anticipated her audacity in seeking favors from a tiger. She presumed Fan Rian still harbored animosity but lacked the courage to express it, embodying the proverbial, "I can't shake her off even if I dislike her." That was all. Xiao Xian paid little heed to such matters. As long as Fan Rian refrained from confrontations and avoided stirring trouble intentionally, she could easily ignore her existence altogether. Bright Moon Villa nestled in the foothills, its backdrop adorned with a peculiar peak. Upon opening its doors, one was greeted by a vast lake, its surface glimmering under the moonlight. A picturesque spot for moon gazing. Hence, the Fan family bestowed upon it the name Bright Moon Villa. Currently, the mountain foliage flaunted hues of red, yellow, orange-red and orange-yellow, presenting a vibrant and splendid spectacle. Large patches of wild chrysanthemums adorned the lakeside, their diminutive blooms resembling copper coins yet unfurling in succession like celestial stars. Despite their simple white and golden hues, they exuded an exceptional beauty amidst the verdant mountains and crystalline waters. During this time of year, the sky boasted an advanced clarity with faint clouds drifting lazily. The autumn breeze carried a refreshing coolness, and though the sun shone brightly, its rays were not searing. It was inherently uplifting to bask in the ambience of the lakeside. Accompanied by Xiao Xian, First Madame Fan and her companions ventured to the shore. Though outings were rare for the ladies, they reveled in the moment, exchanging laughter and conversation, animating the lakeside with their joy. A pavilion stood nearby, recently refurbished. First Madame Fan extended an invitation for Xiao Xian to join her for tea and conversation within its confines. Enthralled by the picturesque scenery, Xiao Xian expressed her delight and encouraged others to explore freely, opting to take a leisurely stroll. Observing her contentment, First Madame Fan eagerly began to highlight the villa's finest attractions to her guest. Xiao Xian refrained from causing embarrassment, much to the relief of First Madame Fan. However, her sister-in-law remained dissatisfied. The sister-in-law, who had initiated the banquet with good intentions, now seemed as reticent as a mute gourd in the presence of Madame Xiao, keeping her head bowed and uttering not a word. Perhaps she was merely shy, considering her past demeanor of dominance and strong will. Such a swift change was improbable. As Xianxia prepared to venture off alone, Fan Rian's eyes sparked with a sudden idea. She pondered how to discreetly coax Xianxia away from the group. Little did she know, opportunity was about to present itself on a silver platter. Chapter 1874. It must be a coincidence, although Fan Rian knew she could find an opportunity to coax Xianxia away from the group later, perhaps when they entered the manor or during a moment of privacy. It wasn't the same as acting outside the manor's confines. If anything were to happen to Xianxia within the manor, it would bear no connection to the Fan family, making it easier to evade blaming Euro. As she watched two young ladies accompany Xianxia towards the east, Fan Rian's satisfaction grew. She couldn't help but mutter under her breath, "They're asking for trouble." Euro. Her words barely escaped her lips when Xianxia turned and caught her gaze. Startled, Fan Rian's eyes widened in panic, feeling as if she'd been caught red-handed. But Xianxia merely offered a smile before departing with the two young ladies. Relieved, Fan Rian let out a sigh, gently patting her chest as her heart raced. What in the world? Euro. No one else had heard her words, so how could Xianxia have possibly heard them? It had to be a coincidence. Euro. At least, that's what Fan Rian tried to convince herself. Yet, despite her attempts to dismiss it, she couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling gnawing at her. Meanwhile, Xianxia engaged in conversation with the two ladies, savoring the scenery, while her own maids trailed behind. Activating her powers, she extended her divine senses and soon detected a group of individuals less than 1,000 meters away. There were 8 in total, clad in nondescript cotton and peasant attire, but their furtive, bandit-like demeanor betrayed their true nature. It appeared the Fan clan was indeed up to no good. Euro. Their disregard for her husband was evident, otherwise, why would they act so recklessly? Listening in on their conversations was unbearable. They spoke as though she was already their captive audience. Xianxia had no intention of wasting any more time. Maintaining the facade of enjoying the scenery, she unleashed her powers. Suddenly the mountains trembled and the earth split open. Before the intruders could even react, they were struck unconscious by falling debris, silence before they could comprehend what had transpired. The cacophony of falling rocks startled Xianxia and her companions, prompting screams that soon drew first Madame Fan and the others to the scene. "Madame Xiao, what's happening? Are you all right?" First Madame Fan's concern was palpable, fearing any further incidents might provoke Xianxia's wrath against the Fan familia. Euro, a disastrous outcome. Nervously, Xianxia gestured towards the distance. "We were simply admiring the scenery when a landslide occurred. We should send some people to investigate." Yi, who had been observing from afar, approached cautiously upon hearing the commotion. However, he maintained a respectful distance from the women. Upon receiving Xianxia's instruction, he nodded. "Of course, madam." The two startled ladies, still recovering from the shock, expressed their lingering fears to Xianxia, who reassured them with a comforting smile. With no time to spare, first Madame Fan swiftly organized a group of servants to accompany her. "Madame Xiao, landslides are not uncommon in these mountains," she reassured, hoping to allay any concerns. Chapter 1875. Instant removal. Euro. It's not uncommon for soil to give way, rocks to tumble down, trees to snap, or sudden flash floods. As long as it doesn't directly affect us, no matter how tumultuous it gets, it's manageable. I didn't anticipate scaring you today. I apologize, Madame Xiao. Please forgive me. Euro. Xianxia shook her head with a reassuring smile. First Madame Fan, you're not to blame. It wasn't intentional and am not one to hold grudges. How could I fault you? Please don't apologize. Laughter rippled through the group, easing the tension. Madame Xiao's rationality and understanding were apparent to Euro. Fan Rian's lips twisted in a silent sneer of disdain. Who couldn't speak prettily on the surface? But who could discern their true intentions? This person had always been adept at sweet talk, like a blooming lotus. It wasn't news to anyone. Weren't these people a bit too trusting? First Madame Fan playfully chided, "Madame Xiao, you truly are generous. I feel ashamed of my pettiness." The teasing banter lightened the mood further, dispelling the earlier solemnity and tension. Seizing the moment, first Madame Fan extended an invitation to Xianxia with a warm smile. "It's almost lunchtime. Shall we head inside? The dishes may be simple, but they're made with fresh ingredients. Please join us, Madame Xiao." She harbored genuine fear of another mishap, Finding solace in the safety of the manor's area. This sentiment resonated with the group, garnering unanimous agreement. Xianxia, with a smile, remarked, "Exploring the wild can be intriguing, and freshness is indeed a precious commodity. First Madam Fan, your humility is commendable. We are fortunate today. However, I can't help but feel compelled to uncover the truth. Let's wait and see what transpires." Despite First Madam Fan's reluctance, Xiaoxian's insistence left her with little choice but to acquiesce. Some among the group, fueled by curiosity, opted to stay and observe. They craned their necks, whispering among themselves in anticipation. Residing in a mountain town, they were no strangers to occasional mountain collapses, often triggered by prolonged heavy rain. However, such occurrences typically had a discernible cause. Before long, two maidservants rushed over, their expressions unreadable from a distance but clearly fraught with anxiety and urgency. Did something really happen? I don't know. It looks like Havensi. First Madam Fan's heart skipped a beat. First Madam? First Madam? Something is wrong. The two maidservants finally ran over, out of breath. A collective gasp swept through the group. First Madam Fan's ire flared. Mind your manners. What's the matter? Why are you alone? Where are the others? The two maidservants stiffened, their expressions growing tense before hastily responding. There's been a massive collapse nearby. Several individuals are unconscious, some partially buried and unresponsive. The others are stationed there. Yi instructed us to inform and summon additional help. Indeed. Panic ensued. What? Unconscious individuals? How did this happen? Who ventured there? Chapter 1876. Strange man. Heavens, Thesa. This didn't kill anyone, right? That's horrible. Hurry up and tell us what happened. True. Xiaoxian's voice cut through the tension, commanding attention. Everyone quiet down. First Madam Fan, dispatch servants to aid them. Yi wouldn't alarm us without cause. There must be a reason behind his actions. You two, recount everything from start to finish. Don't hold back. First Madam Fan's thoughts whirled with apprehension. She swiftly instructed the maids to summon help, then turned her gaze to the two maidservants. The assembled group fell into a hushed silence, fixating on the maidservants with unwavering attention. The two maidservants hesitated momentarily before relaying their account. As we approached, we witnessed the mountain rocks cracking, followed by a massive landslide. 8 men lay unconscious, some partially buried in the soil. It was a distressing sight. All 8 appeared to be middle-aged, clad in ordinary attire, and unfamiliar to us. It's puzzling how they ended up there. A veil of suspicion shrouded the onlookers as they subtly scrutinized First Madam Fan. The proximity of the collapse to their scenic spot raised doubts about the stranger's presence. Were these truly unrelated individuals, as the maids claimed, or was there more to the story? Who could say if they were being truthful? Luckily, Madame Xiao's own servants had accompanied them. Otherwise, if those who went over were all from the Fan family, they might have kept it under wraps. But if these individuals were indeed invited by the Fan clan, what was their intent? What did the Fan clan have in mind? Regardless, the situation felt unsettling, and it likely involved the Fan clan. Unease rippled through the group, prompting a collective desire to depart promptly. As long as the Fan clan refrained from meddling, it was tolerable. Observing the unease among the attendees, First Madam Fan couldn't help but inwardly lament. She wasn't concerned about others' opinions, but she fretted over Xiaoxian's suspicions. Madame Xiao, this is truly peculiar. We wouldn't dare deceive you. The Fan family is as unaware as you and the other ladies. Please don't worry. I'll provide you with a thorough explanation. Xiaoxian regarded her solemnly. I trust you implicitly. There's no need for explanations. Those strangers are undoubtedly up to mischief. I'll instruct Yi to escort them back for interrogation by our lord. What say you, First Madam Fan? First Madam Fan felt a lump form in her throat. Instinctively, she wanted to protest, fearing any potential implications for the Fan family. However, Xiaoxian's rationale struck a chord, and more significantly, her esteemed status left little room for dissent. Madame Xiao is absolutely correct. Entrusting this matter to the authorities for investigation is the prudent course of action. Otherwise, none of us would find peace of mind. I must apologize profusely. I never anticipated that inviting Madame Xiao for a scenic outing would lead to these unforeseen circumstance. Xiaoxian's gentle smile reassured her. It was merely an unfortunate accident. Chapter 1877. Too strange. She cast a meaningful glance at the assembled group. Once this matter is resolved, the authorities will make an official announcement. Until then, no one should engage in speculation or spread rumors. Any adverse consequences resulting from such actions will be thoroughly investigated by the government. The madams nodded in stunned agreement, swiftly heeding her directive. First Madame Fan conveyed her gratitude to Xianxia with a grateful glance. With matters settled, there was little reason for Xianxia to linger. Those who asserted that her youth precluded divorce might miss her, necessitating her return to the city for another meeting at a later date. First Madame Fan didn't dare insist on her remaining. Instead, she smiled warmly and escorted Xianxia to the waiting carriage. Once Xianxia departed, the other ladies followed suit, vacating the scene. Before long the area was deserted. With the aid of the Fan family servants, the 8 individuals were swiftly bound and placed into a carriage. Ai then led them away. Accompanied by First Madame Fan, Second Mrs. Fan and Fan Rian, along with a contingent of servants, they inspected the site of the collapse. The 2 maidservants who had initially reported the incident spoke truthfully. A significant portion of the hill had indeed collapsed, leaving behind a mound of rubble and scattered vegetation. Yet the collapse occurred on a hill abundant with soil and greenery. It seemed inexplicable that such a stable terrain would give way without cause. This is truly baffling. Fan Rian was tempted to seize the opportunity to disparage Xianxia, perhaps insinuating something along the lines of her presence attracts misfortune, but she hesitated. Her current demeanor restrained her from such slanderous remarks. First Madame Fan and her attendants deliberated to no avail, ultimately resigning themselves to the conclusion that it was an unforeseen accident. In the wagon, Xianxia grappled with confusion. Could she have been mistaken? During the maidservant's explanation, she had scrutinized Fan Rian's reaction closely. Yet, Fan Rian appeared genuinely surprised and perplexed, devoid of any guilt or unease. Something didn't add up. Xianxia couldn't fathom that someone as transparent as Fan Rian could conceal her emotions so adeptly. Perhaps Fan Rian hadn't even considered the possibility that the unfamiliar men were mountain bandits. Upon reflection, this seemed to be the only plausible explanation. Xianxia chuckled in disbelief, but soon, a sigh escaped her lips as she rubbed her temples. He had left the city with such determination, catching her husband off guard, only to return and likely face his reprimand. Considering her options, Xianxia couldn't devise a suitable strategy to evade his scolding, so she resigned herself to her fate. As expected, upon her carriage's arrival at the state government office's backyard, her husband stood there with an inscrutable expression, hands clasped behind his back, awaiting her. Xianxia's scalp tingled with nerves. Mustering a smile, she greeted him, "Husband, you've been waiting for me." His response only exacerbated her anxiety. Attempting to appear composed, she flashed a bright smile. "As you can see, I've returned safely. There was an incident at Bright Moon Villa, and I swiftly discerned that something was amiss, hence my prompt return home." Chapter 1878. His lesson. Xiao Yunduan's expression tightened as Xianxia spoke. "Really? Should I compliment you?" he asked, his tone laced with a hint of sarcasm. "No, no." Xianxia quickly shook her head, a flattering smile on her lips. "There's no need for that. I know I was wrong. I won't ever sneak out of the city again. This time I just wanted to see what the Fan family will do, and I'll be cautious." "Cautious?" Xiao Yunduan's anger flared. "You know what kind of family the Fan family is. You know how arrogant and domineering Fan Rian and Old Lady Fan can be. How could you risk it? Even if you're cautious, you're stepping onto their territory. What good will that do? If something were to happen, even if she sensed danger, could she handle it? Help from afar wouldn't reach in time. The news would spread and he wouldn't be able to rush to her aid. Just the thought made him shudder, a cold sweat breaking out. It would drive him insane. Yes, you're here too. Xianxia had never seen Xiao Yunduan lose his temper like this, realizing she shouldn't have provoked him, but she couldn't help herself. She tugged at Xiao Yunduan's sleeve, speaking softly, "I'm confident that with IS capabilities the Fan family won't dare touch me unless they want trouble with you, the prefect lord. At most, they'll try to address the situation openly, to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Ai could whisk her away to safety in minutes." Xianxia attempted to explain and console Xiao Yunduan, and his expression softened slightly. Breathing a sigh of relief, Xianxia recognized the boundaries of her influence. She couldn't afford to joke about herself, not when her life experience was still unfolding. How could she have been so rash and thoughtless? But there was one truth she couldn't reveal: her extraordinary ability to control everything within the courtyard. Regardless of Fan Rian and the others' schemes, she was always aware. She wouldn't allow anyone to plot against them. If she backed down, wouldn't it embolden Fan Rian's arrogance? It would imply that she, as the prefect's wife, feared the Fan family, which would severely disadvantage Xiao Yunduan in his struggle against them. Awareness dawned on Xiaoxian. The stakes were high, and many keen observers were watching the power struggle between the prefect and the Fan family. The outcome would shape their stance and tactics toward the prefect's office. Xiao Xian refused to be a liability. The Fan family had brazenly invited confrontation, and she intended to deliver a resounding blow. Moreover, she was determined to drive them to the brink of madness. Xiao Yunduan sighed, gently grasping her hands. I understand you're trying to support me, my dear, but there's no need. I'm genuinely worried, Euro. I'm scared too. Xiao Xian interjected with a smile. I won't act independently anymore. Xiao Yunduan's expression softened. That's what I want to hear. Absolutely, Xiao Xian affirmed. I'll always consult with you. Xiao Yunduan paused, contemplating. He sensed there was still a lesson she needed to learn. Chapter 1879. The second day Xiao Xian was left speechless. I'm not pretending, she insisted. I just feel like resting a bit longer. Even in defeat, she refused to admit defeat. Despite his unreasonable behavior, she tried to see reason in it. Xiao Yunduan didn't argue, merely smiling. You slept from yesterday afternoon till now. Do you still want to rest? What? Xiao Xian's eyes widened. Was it already the next day? The brightness of the sun confirmed it. She realized her perception was skewed. Late autumn meant shorter days and longer nights. She had thought she slept for a significant period with the elder, but apparently not. Xiao Yunduan noticed her shock, his smile widening. Xiao Xian composed herself, refusing to give in. She couldn't let him think he'd won. So she blinked and replied calmly, I know, but I could still use a bit more rest. Wanting to say, I'm just tired and need more sleep, she changed her words, fearing it might stroke his ego too much. Xiao Yunduan chuckled softly, pinching her cheeks affectionately before enveloping her in his arms. His voice lowered, carrying a note of sternness. Promise me no more recklessness. Do you understand the danger? Think of our son and me. He had placed too much trust in her, never imagining she'd act so boldly without consulting him first. The moment he heard the news, a chilling fear gripped him, his heart plunging like it had been struck by lightning. He dared not contemplate the consequences. Those mountain bandits lacked even the fourth prince's limited restraint. If she fell into their hands, the suffering she'd endure was unimaginable. He wouldn't blame her, but he couldn't sway public opinion. And what if he couldn't reach her in time? He swiftly dispatched guards and headed to Bright Moon Villa, determined to protect her without alarming her, though his heart seethed with silent reprimand. Although he chastised himself inwardly, Xiao Yunduan couldn't bring himself to forcefully stop her from leaving the city. So he silently reproached himself. This woman dared to be so bold, and he bore some responsibility for it. Hearing his words, Xiao Xian felt a pang of guilt, her heart softening. She reached out, wrapping her arms around his waist, and nestled her head against his chest. I understand, my love. I promise I won't put myself in harm's way. With Ai and Ben Lei by my side along with the guards, I can ensure my safety. I couldn't bear to put you and our son at risk. I want to support you, she continued earnestly. I don't trust Fan Rian's intentions inviting us for a meal. I just want to see what she's plotting, what the Fan family is up to. Until these matters are resolved, we won't truly be safe. I know my limits. Xiao Yunduan's touch was gentle as he stroked her hair. All right, I'll trust you from now on. But promise me you won't do something like this again, understood? He truly had no other choice. He couldn't confine her to their home and deny her freedom. Chapter 1880. Don't dare again. In that case, it was better for him to be proactive and ensure her safety by sending someone to protect her. It was far preferable to her taking such risks on her own. Xiao Xian smiled, nodding. Yes, I understand, husband. I'll heed your advice. Bah. Xiao Yunduan scoffed, not entirely convinced by her words. He reached down, playfully pinching her soft waist, and whispered, If you dare to defy me again, I'll have you confined to bed for 3 days and nights. Xiao Xian blushed, suddenly feeling self-conscious. She pushed him away, retreating under the blanket, and pouted coyly. Just go already. Independent Illinois, get up. Xiao Yunduan grinned. Are you sure? Shall I help you change first, or should I take a bath? Wife, do you want Li Xia and Li Qiu to see those marks on your body? Xiao Xian's face flushed hotter, her body turning limp. She couldn't bring herself to meet his gaze but still managed to pout. It's all your fault, Euro. From yesterday afternoon until now, she felt utterly embarrassed as the lady of the household. This man was shameless. Wasn't he worried about being slandered behind his back? Of course not. He was the master here. Who would dare speak ill of him? Old master seemed to have an answer for everything, or so he thought. But Xianxia shook her head inwardly. Xiao Yunduan smiled proudly, unfazed by any hint of shame. They'll have someone prepare a bath for me first, all right? Xianxia, eager for the soothing warmth of a bath, readily agreed. With her husband's persistent teasing, their bath stretched into a 4-hour affair, nearly reaching dusk. Emerging from the bath, Xianxia felt rejuvenated, as if a new chapter in her life had begun. Meanwhile, the Fan family, including the two Madame Fans and Fan Rian, returned to the city shortly after. Although today's gathering lacked the perfection of previous banquets, Madame Xiao had clearly signaled her willingness to reconcile with the Fan family. The first Madame Fan felt she had achieved her goal and harbored no regrets. But Fan Rian couldn't shake her disappointment. Unexpectedly, amidst the festivities, a mishap occurred. Madame Xiao departed early and returned to the city unharmed. How unfortunate! Fan Rian lamented, still unaware of the connection between the unconscious men and the bandits. She only regretted the missed opportunity. Why hadn't the bandits struck earlier? If only they had arrived earlier to snatch Xianxia away. Fan Rian never anticipated a knife at her throat in the dead of night. Don't move. I'm from the mountain. The voice belonged to one of the mountain bandits. Fan Rian breathed a sigh of relief, assuming him to be an ally. Why are you only here now? You said you'd snatch someone from Bright Moon Villa during the day. Xianxia went there today, but you didn't show up. Euro. Shut up. The knife pressed harder against her neck. Are you playing dumb, you wretch? The searing pain made Fan Rian tremble. She dared not move, her voice quivering. What do you mean, Euro? Are you asking me? The man's teeth clenched, his curses venomous. 8 of our men went, none returned. Heard they were nabbed by the authorities. Did you rat us out, you filthy traitor? Chapter 1881. Interrogation. In the middle of the night, enraged, the mountain bandit stowed his knife and delivered a harsh slap to Fan Rian's face. His hand was rough, calloused and scarred. In his fury he showed no mercy. The force of the blow sent half of Fan Rian's face recoiling, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth, her head throbbing. Suppressing a scream, she clenched her teeth, groaning as if her molars had loosened. Clutching the blanket tightly, she struggled to sit up, her voice trembling. What did you say? Her expression shifted drastically. Could it be them? What are you talking about? The man demanded. Speak. Fan Rian's vision blurred, nearly fainting. Fear mingled with fury. How foolish. Why hadn't she realized sooner? Who else but those mysterious men near Bright Moon Villa? Why hadn't she made the connection earlier? With trembling lips, she recounted the entire encounter to the bandit. You foolish woman. The man's rage surged. He slapped her once more, his teeth clenched. Traitor. Those were our comrades. You watched them get taken by the authorities. The man seemed to favor alternating his slaps, landing one on each side of Fan Rian's face. Fan Rian had always been cautious and diligent about her skin care. Her skin, fair and delicate as tofu, couldn't bear the force of the blows. Her face reddened and swelled instantly, streaked with red, purple and blood, a ghastly sight. Tears streamed down her face, the pain nearly rendering her unconscious. She covered her battered face, voice trembling with tears. I didn't know it's too coincidental. But, Buta the man glared at her, his expression darkening as he sneered. Crafty woman, do you take me for a fool? Such coincidences don't exist. I know the terrain near Bright Moon Villa well. Rocks don't collapse without reason, and it's implausible for all 8 to be knocked out simultaneously. Do you really expect me to believe this? The 8 men who descended the mountain were seasoned elites. The one leading the raid was the 3rd in command of the Tiger Head tribe and 2nd in command of the Liuha fort. He was the 4th in command of the Min family tribe and led 12 others to meet them 5 kilometers away. Capturing the wife of an official's dog required utmost vigilance. They were well acquainted with the terrain, confident that the official couldn't thwart them. But this accident blindsided them. A blasted accident. Even if rocks fell, their skills would prevent everyone from passing out. This treacherous woman must be lying. Have you been colluding with the government? Did you orchestrate today's events to ensnare us? How dare you plot against me, you wretch? No. I swear I'm innocent. Fan Rian's heart raced with fear. I'd never betray you. If I did, would I allow myself to be captured? The officials won't spare our Fan family. Surrendering to them is out of the question. Their demise is our only hope. Your Majesty, you must believe me. The man glared at her with venom. Deep down he believed her. He cared little for the feud between the Fan clan and officials, but he trusted that Fan Rian, foolish as she was, lacked the courage to betray them. Chapter 1882. It's hard to get off a thief's ship unless the Fan family wanted to abandon Anne's province altogether. The man growled, "Stop your excuses. I won't trust a word you say. Figure out how to lure that dog official's wife out. If you fail, I'll obliterate you. And your precious Fan family along with you. Don't think you're clever. If you dare double-cross me for a dog official, unless your family hides within the prefect's office and never steps outside, No, I swear. Words mean nothing. I want action. Get up and write something. Now." Fan Rian hesitated. Written evidence could easily fall into the wrong hands, becoming a vulnerability. But with a knife at her throat, she had little choice. Once aboard the pirate ship, it wasn't easy to disembark unscathed. The loyal worldly folks she thought she knew were ruthless bandits willing to wield their blades against innocents without a second thought. Fan Rian dared not refuse, muttering her grievances silently. With trembling hands, she penned the incriminating evidence and pressed her fingerprint. Illiterate as he was, the bandit trusted Fan Rian's sincerity. If she dared deceive him, her Fan family would face dire consequences. Satisfied, the bandit nonchalantly pocketed the document. He glared at Fan Rian, sneering, "Listen up, you wretch. You have 3 days to lure that dog official's wife out of the city, by any means necessary. Fail and you'll face my wrath." "Butayuro what?" Euro. As the bandit swaggered off into the night, Fan Rian collapsed to the ground, her limbs weak, hugging herself as tears flowed. Fear, anger, shock, and regret overwhelmed her, mingled with panic and despair seeping through her entire being. Exhausted from crying, she remained huddled against the bed, her mind blank. What was she to do now? Those mountain bandits were a force to be reckoned with, terrifying and ruthless. Fan Rian's resentment towards Xianxia and Xiao Yunduan festered. If not for them, she wouldn't be in this mess. They were the ones who coerced her into seeking out the mountain bandits. Yes, it was all their fault. To Euro. If she was suffering, she wouldn't let them off the hook either. Yes. Xianxia, how could she lure her out of the city? What was her plan? First, Madame Fan's eyes widened incredulously. "What did you say? You want to invite Madame Xiao to Qingsong Monastery to offer incense the day after tomorrow? Explain yourself." First, Madame Fan couldn't fathom her sister-in-law's intentions. Was she defying Madame Xiao? Since Madame Xiao had pardoned their family, why stir up trouble? She was already apprehensive. Every time she invited Madame Xiao, something went awry. She dared not do it anymore. But her sister-in-law seemed undeterred. Fan Rian masked her embarrassment with a smile. "Sister-in-law, I still feel uneasy. Madame Xiao might say she doesn't hold grudges, but who knows if she's just being polite. After all, we invited her to Bright Moon Villa for a scenic view and a banquet, but she left without eating lunch. Euro. If she harbors resentment, wouldn't that be Euro?" Chapter 1883. Treating again. So, I initially thought the 15th was 2 days from now. Qingsong Monastery is renowned for its vegetarian fare, so perhaps it's best to keep the guest list to just Madame Xiao. Mrs. Jia mentioned she's tied up at home, or else we could have extended an invitation to her as well. With a small gathering, we can enjoy the best of both worlds. Initially, Madame Fan hesitated against Fan Rian's persuasion. After pondering for a moment, she found no harm in expanding her social circle. This was how acquaintances turned into friendships. "Butayuro, will Madame Xiao agree to come?" Euro. To be frank, if she were in Madame Xiao's shoes, she wouldn't have accepted her own family's invitation. She will agree. Anything less and she'd be unhappy. That simply wouldn't do. Seeing her sister-in-law's puzzled expression, Fan Rian realized she was rushing things. She forced a smile. "Sister-in-law, you're the matriarch of the Fan family. If Madame Xiao wishes to be a supportive spouse to Lord Xiao, she'll undoubtedly seek favor with the Fan family and honor your invitation. If you reach out to her first, she may even be eager." First, Madame Fan found this reassuring. After contemplating for a moment, she smiled and said, "Indeed, fostering a good relationship with the prefect's wife would benefit our family." "Very well, I shall extend the invitation tomorrow." "Absolutely." Fan Rian hastily agreed with a smile. "But if you're planning to invite her, why wait until tomorrow? It's still early today. Why don't we go now? I'll give Madame Xiao ample time to prepare." First, Madame Fan furrowed her brow and acquiesced. Very well. Initially hesitant to comply, she found herself swayed by the urgency. Yet, upon reflection, she wondered if this sudden eagerness from her sister-in-law was instigated by her mother-in-law. Why else would she be so keen on inviting Madame Xiao when she had previously opposed the idea? It must be her mother-in-law's influence. With a smile, first Madame Fan remarked, "But on the day of the ceremony, you must engage with Madame Xiao warmly and actively. We cannot afford to repeat yesterday's mistakes. If we've extended an invitation to Madame Xiao, it's imperative that we alter her perception of us entirely. Do you agree?" "Certainly, sister-in-law. I'll proceed with caution." Fan Rian nodded, her mind focused solely on securing Xiao Xian's presence. As for the future? Well, she would deal with that when the time came. First Madame Fan couldn't help but feel a surge of pride at her words. Such foresight was a rarity. At that moment, without further delay, arrangements were set in motion. Gifts were prepared and they set off, dressed impeccably, to the state government office's courtyard to extend their invitation. Xiao Xian accepted with a smile. First Madame Fan departed, content with the outcome. Li Xia and Li Qiu exchanged worried glances. "Madam, I can't shake off this feeling that something's off about the Fan family lately." "Absolutely. Who keeps hosting endless meals like this? It's rather suspicious." "Madam, perhaps it's best if you skip the incense ceremony. I can't shake the feeling that the Fan family is up to no good. A sacred place like the temple is ripe for manipulation. It just doesn't sit right with me." Xiao Xian cast them a glance and chuckled. "You two are quite observant, aren't you? Your vigilance has certainly improved." Li Xia and Li Qiu exchanged a smile. "After all these years by Madame's side, we must have picked up a thing or two, no matter how slow we were to start." Chapter 1884, I just want to see what they want. The trio enjoyed their conversation, sharing laughs. Li Xia and Li Qiu hinted at the possibility of declining the Fan family's invitation. "No need to decide just yet, I'll ponder it," Xiao Xian replied. Though she initially intended to attend, she decided to consult her husband before finalizing her decision to avoid any potential conflicts. After all, he had a tendency to become irritable. Li Xia and Li Qiu trusted their mistress to make the right choice and nodded with smiles. Just then the nanny Kaiwe arrived with the young master who had just woken up. Laughter filled the room as they all played together. Xiao Yunduan returned in the evening and the couple shared a meal. Sensing her husband's upbeat mood lately, Xiao Xian seized the opportunity to broach the topic of the invitation from First Madame Fan. Nestling against his arm, she spoke sweetly, "Darling, what do you think about visiting Qingsong Monastery? I've heard their vegetarian cuisine is exceptional, especially the pine mushrooms and bamboo shoots harvested from the mountain's forest. They're said to be exquisite." Xiao Yunduan's silence spoke volumes. No wonder Xiao Xian had sensed something amiss the entire night. There was indeed cause for concern. "You wish to attend?" "Yes," Xiao Xian affirmed. "I suspect the Fan family has ulterior motives." Before Xiao Yunduan could respond, she continued, "But I merely wish to discern their intentions." Xiao Yunduan's expression turned grim as he sneered. "Merely attending the banquet at Bright Moon Villa yesterday led to a run-in with mountain bandits. I could dispatch officers to apprehend the Fan family on mere suspicion. Yesterday, Yi had brought back 8 captives, and after thorough interrogation by Xiao Yunduan, Sun Bai, Sun Qian and Jing Sang, it was revealed that 2 among them were leaders, while the rest were significant accomplices. This revelation sent shivers down everyone's spines once more. Jing Sang and his team were seasoned and resolute in their belief that the mountain bandits were undoubtedly linked to the Fan family, despite their denial. In this world, coincidences were a rarity. It just so happened that Madame attended the banquet at Bright Moon Villa. It just so happened that the bandits appeared near the villa simultaneously, each one a skilled operative. It required no stretch of the imagination to conclude that they were targeting Madame, intending to abduct her, perhaps to negotiate for the release of their captured leaders. However, fate had a different plan. Before they could execute their scheme, they encountered an unexpected setback. Truly the saying held true, "The heavens have eyes." Clarifying the truth behind the matter proved to be a straightforward task. Under interrogation, it was unlikely that these individuals could endure punishment without breaking. Once a confession was obtained, they could proceed to apprehend the Fan family. With the Fan family in custody, no stone would be left unturned in the interrogation process. However, Xiao Yunduan hesitated to entangle himself with the Fan family at this juncture. The paramount concern remained the 3 villages. With the commencement of hostilities, the conflict between the 2 factions had officially commenced. Their objective was to eradicate the opposition entirely in one decisive strike. In comparison to the Fan clan, these individuals posed a greater threat. They operated outside the bounds of morality, disregarding the law and acting without scruples. One misstep could lead to irreversible tragedy. Therefore, upon uncovering their identities, Xiao Yunduan opted to steer clear of involvement with the Fan family. Chapter 1885. Xiao Yunduan's helplessness. The audacity of the Fan family to extend an invitation for the incense ceremony? They must be exceedingly brazen. Xiao Yunduan's frustration simmered. Even after their collusion was exposed and the mountain bandits apprehended, they still had the gall to deceive his wife into accepting their invitation. Their lack of scruples was staggering. Did they truly believe he and his wife to be so naive? Xiao Xian countered with a smile. Darling, I believe you may have misinterpreted the situation. While I cannot speak to the Fan family's involvement with the three villages, it's plausible that they may not be fully aware of recent events. My suspicion lies with Fan Rian. During our encounter at Bright Moon Villa, I subtly inquired about Qingsong Monastery. It was all orchestrated by Fan Rian. First Madame Fan even vouched for her sister-in-law, claiming genuine remorse and a desire to apologize to me. It appears even she was misled by Fan Rian's facade. Considering Fan Rian's apparent ease in contacting the mountain bandits, it's evident the Fan clan maintains close ties with them. Since you've extended the invitation, I shall attend. Xiao Yunduan gazed at her with a mixture of resignation and admiration. After a moment's contemplation, he relented with a sigh and nodded. They'll make the necessary arrangements. You may attend, but exercise caution. Stick to well-traveled areas and avoid remote locations like the back mountain. Xiao Xian readily concurred, offering a smile. Indeed, I'll confine myself to the intermediate grounds of the monastery. The continued pursuit by those bandits indicates their disdain for both my husband and the authorities. Once within the monastery's bounds, they might feel emboldened, considering themselves masters of their surroundings. They're unlikely to venture into secluded areas like the back of the mountain. Xiao Yunduan's expression contorted into a disdainful sneer. I won't tolerate any threats to your safety. The very idea of someone daring to lay claim to his wife was preposterous. On the designated day, Xiao Xian, accompanied by Mian Mian, embarked in a carriage driven by the coachman, with Ai trailing closely behind. Alongside them were the Fan sisters-in-law. Xiao Xian noted the absence of Bo Ruerue, Fan Rian's daughter, and the presence of Mrs. Fan's two daughters. She couldn't help but inwardly scoff at Fan Rian's evident favoritism toward her own offspring. As they departed the city, the journey to Qingsong Monastery lasted less than an hour. Situated in An's province, the renowned ancient temple was nestled amidst pine trees, exuding an atmosphere of tranquility and simplicity. A winding path led up the mountain, guiding the carriage towards the main monastery, a journey of less than 20 minutes. Throughout the trip, First Madame Fan and Second Mrs. Fan entertained Xiao Xian with captivating tales and historical anecdotes about Qingsong Monastery, painting a vivid picture of its scenic beauty and cultural significance. Their unhurried pace allowed for frequent stops, and after over an hour of travel, they finally arrived at the intermediate monastery. Upon their arrival, the prefect's wife, alongside the Fan family's matriarch and their young ladies, were accorded the utmost respect by the monastery's staff. Led by a senior monk responsible for guest reception, a group of over 10 monks warmly greeted them at the mountain gate, escorting them with courtesy to the meditation room designated for esteemed visitors. The elder accompanied the guests for a brief period, during which Xiao Xian graciously assured them the freedom to pursue their own interests without disturbance. Recognizing her considerate gesture, the elder expressed heartfelt gratitude and admiration before taking his leave. After a short break and cleansing of hands, Xiao Xian, accompanied by First Madame Fan, made their way to the main hall to procure incense offerings. With infectious enthusiasm, First Madame Fan extended invitations to explore the monastery's various attractions, sparking Xiao Xian's curiosity and prompting her to join in the adventures eagerly. Chapter 1886. Buddha and Bodhisattva are all watching Fan Rian struggle to maintain her composure, her heart in turmoil. Despite 2 days passing, the memory of the stinging slaps still haunted her. She had to plaster on layers of makeup to conceal the bruises on her face, and the lingering pain served as a constant reminder of her mission. But they couldn't afford to overlook Xiao Xian. Were those individuals still around? How could they apprehend Xiao Xian? The uncertainty gnawed at her, every moment agonizing. Unable to bear it any longer, Fan Rian resolved to take action. After some contemplation, she devised a plan. First, she persuaded second sister-in-law to return to the rest area under the pretense of fetching tea leaves and tea sets. Then, she ventured to the renowned bonsai garden within the intermediate section of Qingsong Monastery to make preparations. Subsequently, she invited Madame Xiao to join her in making tea. Second Mrs. Fan found the idea agreeable and promptly departed. In a stroke of luck, Fan Rian accidentally collided with First Madame Fan once more. Although she narrowly avoided hitting a pillar, her hair was left askew from the impact. Maintaining the image of a dignified mistress of the household was paramount, and having her hair askew was undignified. First Madame Fan felt a flush of embarrassment as she apologized to Xiao Xian and promptly excused herself to tidy her hair. With the departure of the two Mrs. Fan before Fan Rian could speak, Xiao Xian cast a glance at the Fan family's young ladies and kindly reassured them, "Go and enjoy yourselves, don't worry." The young misses of the Fan family, already eager to explore, breathed a collective sigh of relief and quickly departed with their maidservants. Now only Xiao Xian, Mian Mian, Fan Rian and her maids remained. Xiao Xian flashed a smile at Fan Rian. Under Xiao Xian's gaze, Fan Rian felt a twinge of panic. She couldn't shake the feeling that Xiao Xian had sensed something, but upon reflection, she dismissed it as paranoia. Surely, if Xiao Xian truly suspected her, she wouldn't have agreed to come to Qingsong Monastery in the first place. Suppressing her unease, Fan Rian smiled and invited Xiao Xian to continue their activities. Xiao Xian happily agreed. Led by Fan Rian, Xiao Xian followed to a secluded spot. Fan Rian couldn't contain her excitement. She discreetly scanned the surroundings, wondering where the bandits might be lurking and when they would emerge to seize Xiao Xian. Lost in her thoughts, Fan Rian inadvertently stepped on the corner of her skirt, nearly tumbling. Fortunately, Pinglan reacted swiftly, rushing to her aid and preventing a fall. Fan Rian let out a startled cry, her complexion draining of color as she pressed a hand to her chest to steady her racing heart. Observing her distress, Xiao Xian offered a sympathetic gaze and inquired with genuine concern, "You seem preoccupied and uneasy ever since we arrived at Qingsong Monastery. Is something troubling you?" Fan Rian's heart, which had just begun to settle, leaped once more in terror. No. You must be mistaken, Euro. I'm glad to hear that," Xiao Xian replied with a warm smile. "Remember, this is a temple and the Buddha and Bodhisattva are watching over us. If you encounter any difficulties, sincerely seek their guidance and assistance." Fan Rian's expression darkened further. "Ah, thank you for the reminder, Madame Xiaoyuro." Despite her tumultuous thoughts, Fan Rian understood her own intentions. She knew that the blessings of the Buddha and Bodhisattva were unlikely to be bestowed upon her endeavors. Chapter 1887. Teasing her she couldn't even risk the Buddha and Bodhisattva discovering her intentions. Perhaps Madame Xiao was deliberately taunting her. Fortunately, Xiao Xian shifted the conversation with a smile, steering away from the topic. Instead, she turned to Fan Rian with genuine interest. "Is there a spot within 500 meters of Qingsong Monastery that's serene, captivating and offers splendid scenery?" Mian Mian, privy to certain details, couldn't help but glance at her wife, suppressing a smirk. Fan Rian felt a surge of frustration. She inwardly cursed the incompetence of the bandits. Despite leading them to such a secluded spot, why hadn't they acted yet? Nevertheless, she maintained a composed smile and replied, "For tranquility and picturesque views, nothing surpasses the back mountain. It boasts lush pines, verdant bamboos, cascading waterfalls, natural springs, mountain blooms and peculiar rock formations. It's truly breathtaking. Since we're here, it's only fitting to explore the back mountain. Would you care to accompany me?" Fan Rian's eyes gleamed with anticipation. Yes, they might be lying in wait at the back of the mountain. Considering the monastery's numerous visitors, the back mountain offered the most seclusion, making it an ideal location for capturing targets. Xiao Xian smiled. "Shall we venture alone? Shouldn't we wait for first Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan?" Fan Rian desperately wished for the bandits to seize Xiao Xian soon, so she saw no reason to wait. With a smile, she suggested, "We can proceed without my sister-in-laws, Madame Xiao. My company should suffice." "Oh, Hayuro, please, Madame Xiao." Xiao Xian glanced at her and replied casually, "Actually, my husband advised against visiting the back mountain before I came here. He mentioned that the back mountain isn't safe, and it could lead to trouble if anything were to happen. While the surroundings are serene, they're also quite isolated." Fan Rian felt a pang of frustration. What kind of words were those? However, Xiao Xian's refusal only fueled Fan Rian's conviction that the mountain bandits were indeed lurking there. "Your husband is overly cautious. This is Qingsong Monastery, a renowned ancient temple in An's province. The back mountain is routinely tended to by the monastery's masters. How could there be any danger? With the lush greenery and picturesque landscapes this time of year, it would be a shame not to explore them. Madam Xiao, won't you reconsider? Fan Rian pleaded. I understand euro, Xiao Xian feigned contemplation. Seeing an opportunity, Fan Rian persisted, doing her utmost to coax Xiao Xian into accompanying her to the back mountain, even resorting to flattery. Amused by Fan Rian's evident anxiety, Xiao Xian found the situation rather amusing. Although she secretly desired to visit the back mountain, she knew she would be the one handling any potential threats. There was no chance of others overpowering her. However, she dreaded her husband's wrath. She couldn't afford to provoke him when he was in a fiery mood. Regrettably, she had no choice but to relent. Well, let's forget it, Xiao Xian sighed with disappointment, offering a wry smile to Fan Rian. My husband is quite temperamental and he doesn't heed my advice. He'll be furious and he'll have to face his retribution later. I dare not risk it. After all, in marriage we should defer to our husband's wishes, shouldn't we? Since my husband has forbidden it, we must abide by his decision. Fan Rian, suddenly Xiao Xian flashed a smile. But Mrs. Bai, you're so considerate. I feel embarrassed to decline your invitation. Chapter 1888. Fan Rian almost couldn't help it. Fan Rian's eyes sparkled with renewed hope. Lord Xiao won't have to know if we simply take a leisurely stroll and admire the scenery. You won't regret it? Absolutely, Xiao Xian replied with a slight smile. My husband is quite stringent and I can't keep anything from him. But next time, he'll seek his permission beforehand so that I can join you for incense offerings, Mrs. Bai. Please remember to extend the invitation when you return. Fan Rian struggled to contain her frustration. She almost believed Xiao Xian was mocking her. Very well, I'll be sure to invite you next to me. Fan Rian forced out through clenched teeth. Wonderful. Xiao Xian beamed. I didn't expect you to be so hospitable. I must have misjudged you, Mrs. Bai. Fan Rian's smile tightened further. She had a sinking feeling that Xiao Xian was deliberately taunting her. Shortly after, First Madame Fan returned with her hair neatly arranged. With no opportunity to object, Fan Rian remained silent. Xiao Xian and First Madame Fan chatted amiably as they proceeded to the bonsai garden for tea and exploration. Later they enjoyed a vegetarian lunch together. The vegetarian dishes at Qingsong Monastery were indeed exquisite. Each dish, from the savory mushrooms and wild fungi to the delectable dried bamboo shoots and stir-fried snow vegetables, was prepared with utmost care. The monks, eager to impress the prefect's wife, showcased their culinary expertise by meticulously crafting each dish with fresh, high-quality ingredients sourced from the nearby mountain. Xiao Xian couldn't help but commend the chefs for their remarkable skills and the exceptional freshness of the ingredients. After the satisfying vegetarian feast, the group made their way back to their residence. Throughout the journey back to the city, Fan Rian found herself consumed by despair. With each passing moment, her heart sank deeper. As the carriage drew nearer to An's prefecture city, any remaining glimmer of hope within Fan Rian faded away entirely. Impossibly, what had gone wrong? Had the bandits not made their move at Qingsong Monastery at all? Why was there no sign of their presence? As they bid farewell, Xiao Xian cast a smile towards her sister-in-law and expressed her gratitude. Thank you for your hospitality, Mrs. Fan. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan were also visibly pleased, responding humbly with smiles. Meanwhile, Fan Rian struggled to force a smile, her expression more akin to a grimace than a grin. Upon returning to the state office, Xiao Xian was met by Xiao Yunduan, who awaited her outside the gates. Their eyes met and smiles graced their faces. Xiao Yunduan swept her off the wagon, refusing to release her as he enveloped her in his embrace. With a smile he inquired, "How was your outing? Did you enjoy yourself?" "Absolutely," Xiao Xian affirmed, returning his smile before teasing. "And what about you? Did you accomplish anything?" Xiao Yunduan chuckled. "Certainly. Indeed, he had accomplished quite a bit. Sun Bai and Sun Qian had personally led a team to conduct a thorough search, while Zheng Sang had positioned his men to keep a watchful eye on the periphery, ensuring no one slipped through the cracks. As a result, they had apprehended 13 individuals. Interestingly, upon questioning, it was discovered that there were precisely 13 individuals who had ventured to Qingsong Monastery. All 13 were now securely held in custody. For now, Xiao Yunduan's focus remained on his wife. With her safe return, his worries dissipated entirely. Chapter 1889. First-class reward. They continued their conversation as they entered the room, and Xianxia's spirits were lifted by the news. With a smile she remarked, "Excellent. We can apprehend as many of those troublemakers as we please, and they're likely to be quite significant individuals." Returning her smile, Xiao Yunduan expressed his gratitude, saying, "Thank you for your assistance today, my dear wife." Xiao Xian playfully quipped, "Will there be a grand reward for the best assistant?" "Indeed, a first-class reward," Xiao Yunduan affirmed with a grin. Intrigued, Xiao Xian's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she asked, "Really? What might that be?" Xiao Yunduan's smile deepened as he pulled her close, whispering into her ear, "Isn't the greatest reward to offer you the title of Lady of the Prefecture?" "Euro," Xiao Xian burst into laughter, giving him a playful pinch. "Can I eat or sell this Lord of the Prefecture? What value does it hold?" Xiao Yunduan chuckled, replying, "It's for consumption, not trade." Xiao Xian's excitement grew. "Euro, I refuse to converse with you further." Playfully pushing him away, she declared, "I'm off to see Anan." The audacity of that man was truly astounding, becoming increasingly shameless by the day. Fan Rian couldn't bear it any longer. She decided it was time to see her son, whom she had missed dearly throughout the day. Xiao Yunduan followed her, accompanying her to their son's side. Their little boy had grown remarkably since birth, his chubby cheeks flushed, and his bright eyes twinkling with joy upon seeing his parents. He kicked his tiny feet enthusiastically, waved his delicate hands and babbled happily. His innocence and charm were utterly irresistible. In comparison to dealing with a certain man, her son was undoubtedly a much more delightful companion. Euro. As Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan enjoyed their time together, Fan Rian's anxiety only grew, her thoughts consumed by the situation at the Fan family. Feeling a sense of unease creeping over her, she glanced up to see the sky darkening. Her expression shifted, and she abruptly rose from her seat, intending to visit Old Lady Fan's courtyard. That night she couldn't bear the thought of sleeping alone. She yearned for the company of her mother and decided to seek solace in her presence. However, after taking only a few steps, she halted abruptly. Fan Rian realized that seeking refuge with her mother was merely a temporary solution, not a permanent one. Even if she managed to escape for one night, it wouldn't solve the underlying problem. It was impractical to rely on her mother's company every single night. Moreover, aggravating the situation further would only lead to more harm than good. Her frustration boiled over, and she slammed her palm down on the table in frustration. Anger and resentment surged within her, fueled by a sense of helplessness. Madame Xiao's refusal to venture to the back of the mountain only intensified Fan Rian's feelings of injustice. If only she had insisted on bringing her there, perhaps the outcome would have been different. However, dwelling on what could have been was futile now. Throughout the night, Fan Rian was plagued by anxiety. She couldn't bring herself to close her eyes, fearing any sign of movement outside might signal danger. Every rustle made her heart race with apprehension, only to find it was a false alarm. Eventually, exhaustion overcame her, and she drifted into a fitful sleep, her troubled mind finally finding some respite. Fan Rian's night was plagued by restlessness. Every little noise made her alert, preventing her from getting any decent sleep. Just as she felt herself drifting off, she would jolt awake, her senses on high alert. Upon waking up, she felt a surge of nervousness, expecting something to have happened during the night. Yet to her surprise, everything seemed normal. As the dawn broke, Fan Rian couldn't help but feel incredulous. Had the night truly passed without incident? It felt surreal, like a dream. However, amidst her relief, a deeper sense of anxiety gnawed at her. She couldn't shake the feeling that the mountain bandits wouldn't simply let her off the hook. Just because nothing happened last night didn't mean she was in the clear. The looming threat remained, tormenting her with the knowledge that as long as she refused to comply, the danger would persist. Chapter 1890. The soft pick in the state office. Xiao Yunduan and Sun Bai had conducted separate interrogations the previous night, ensuring that everyone's identities were clarified. Their efforts yielded significant results. They had captured another leader, along with 10 other brave and skilled individuals. The apprehension of such key figures would undoubtedly weaken the enemy's strength, alleviating pressure during future confrontations. Excitement and jubilation filled the air as the team praised Xiao Xian's seemingly fortuitous influence. Comments like, "Madam is truly a lucky charm," and "her blessing is undeniable," coupled with Lord's favor, echoed throughout the room. Xiao Yunduan, however, tempered the mood with a reminder of the risks involved. He cautioned against inflating Xiao Xian's ego, emphasizing the need for caution in future endeavors. Acknowledging the persistent provocations from the bandits, Xiao Yunduan declared it was time for a proactive response. Addressing Constable Zheng and Constable Hang, he instructed them to prepare for an assault on Tiger Head Tribe. Their strategy was clear: systematically eliminate weaker targets and gradually tighten the noose around the enemy, ensuring their eventual defeat. Among the 3 strongholds, Tiger Head Tribe had suffered the greatest losses. With one of their leaders deceased and another captured and imprisoned, they stood as prime targets for further capture. Acknowledging the gravity of the situation, everyone present responded with solemn nods and gestures of agreement. Zheng Sang and Hang Xingshan swiftly descended to strategize, while the rest of the team assumed their designated roles and made necessary preparations. Hang Xingshan, a seasoned constable with 6 years of service in the An's province government office, harbored a deep-seated disdain for the mountain bandits, much like his colleague Jia Heming. However, unlike Jia Heming's more passive outlook, Hang Xingshan remained steadfast in his belief that the imperial court would inevitably intervene in An's province affairs. He had spent years covertly gathering intelligence on the 3 strongholds, anticipating a day like this. And now, with Lord Xiao's leadership, his long-awaited opportunity had finally arrived. Though it deviated from his initial hope for direct imperial intervention, Hang Xingshan remained resolute in his commitment to eliminating the bandits, regardless of the means. Hang Xingshan felt a surge of gratitude towards Lord Xiao for recognizing his efforts and promoting him. He pledged to remain loyal and dedicated, willing to sacrifice everything for someone who had acknowledged his contributions. Without Lord Xiao's support, Hang Xingshan believed he would have remained unnoticed among the ranks. He vowed to stand by Lord Xiao's side for the remainder of his days, faithfully following wherever he led. The swift action against the 3 villages was not solely driven by Xiao Yunduan's confidence in his abilities. Hang Xingshan's meticulous collection of valuable information played a crucial role in empowering Lord Xiao's decision-making. This fusion of trust and knowledge bolstered their resolve to confront the enemy head-on. In the middle of the night, Fan Rian finally heard the sound of boots landing. In a daze, she suddenly felt a little strange, as if someone was approaching. She opened her eyes and saw someone standing in front of her bed, staring at her coldly. She covered her mouth and almost fainted from fright. Who are you? It was 2 people. She didn't know any of them. The 2 of them did not look good. Their cold gazes wished they could cut her into pieces. What happened in Qingsong Monastery? Tell me everything honestly and clearly. Don't miss a single detail. Tell me quickly. Chapter 1891. Interrogation. The attendees that evening comprised the leader of the Tiger Head tribe and the second in command of the Min family tribe. 2 days prior, Min Si had returned, adamant about bringing his original followers to abduct Madame Xiao. Despite efforts to dissuade him, his pride prevailed, and his companions could only acquiesce. Confident in his vigilance, Min Si believed he could evade any trouble unscathed. However, to his surprise, none of them returned the following day, nor did anyone return the day after. The sudden turn of events left everyone incredulous. Suspicions turned toward the local official, whom they accused of foul play. Frustration boiled over as curses filled the mountain air, and in their rage, furniture was shattered. Was their visit tonight directed towards Fan Rian? Fan Rian hastily explained, I've taken her to Qingsong Monastery as instructed, but no one showed up. Don't blame Mayuro, I fulfilled my part. Enough, snapped the Tiger Head tribe leader impatiently. Tell us precisely what transpired at Qingsong Monastery that day. Leave nothing out. Fan Rian found herself compelled to suppress her grievances and recount every detail of the previous day's events. As she spoke, the furrows in the brows of her audience deepened, their expressions morphing into clear displeasure and disdain. Despite their impatience and occasional snide remarks, Yi Jian endured and listened attentively. However, as Fan Rian persisted in her rambling narrative about the happenings at Qingsong Monastery, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe erupted, slamming his fist onto the table. Enough with the trivialities. Speak something of substance, woman. Startled, Fan Rian faltered. She couldn't discern her mistake. Yet she dared not retaliate in anger. Instead, she swallowed her frustration and pressed on, filled with regret and trepidation, realizing the grave consequences of her actions. As her tale concluded amidst continued curses, Fan Rian pondered the formidable entity she had unwittingly provoked. The dissatisfaction between the 2 of them only intensified. That's all you have to say? I am sorry, that's Alayuro useless. The Tiger Head tribe leader's reprimand was sharp. Are you as dumb as a rock? Our people are missing and you didn't think to investigate? Damn it. How did the officials find out? Oh, Did you betray us? No, I swear I didn't. How could I even dare? Fan Rian shrank into herself, trembling with fear. She truly feared these individuals. Witnessing her fear, a slap landed on her face, stinging with burning indignation. The Min family tribe's second-in-command intervened. Qing, calm down. I doubt this fool has the guts. Fan Rian bit her lip, casting her gaze downward with sullen resignation. She silently retorted, you may call me a fool, but you're no better. Always getting captured. Fury flickered in the Tiger Head tribe leader's eyes as he glared at Fan Rian. He longed to unleash his anger upon her, but rescuing her remained the top priority. Find another way to lure that official's wife out of the city. What? Fan Rian appeared on the verge of tears. Imskarita I fear it won't be simply after coaxing her out of the city numerous times, I worry she'll become suspicious. The Min family tribe's second-in-command cast a disdainful glance her way. He privately acknowledged that this fool of a woman was displaying a moment of intelligence, but Qing remained puzzled by her apprehension. Chapter 1892. Bringing Mrs. Guan in. Not only was she suspicious now, but she had been suspicious all along. Wasn't the incident at Qingsong Monastery evidence enough? That wife of the dog official was certainly audacious. Despite knowing the risk, she dared to venture for the euro. Perhaps her standing in the official's esteem wasn't as high as assumed. The second-in-command declared, seek out Deputy Prefect Guan's wife and devise a plan to ensnare her alongside you. Fan Rian was caught off guard. With a sneer, the second-in-command taunted, unwilling? If not, then swiftly concoct a scheme to lure the dog official's wife out of the city. I am willing truly. Fan Rian desired to avoid further entanglement with Xiao Xian. She asserted without hesitation, Mrs. Guan harbors immense disdain for that foolish couple. She'll undoubtedly assist us. The second-in-command remained silent. Whether she was willing or not might not be within her control. You'll meet with her tomorrow. Understood. Remember, you must go. You must convince her or else, humph. With a sneer, the second-in-command forcibly led away the scowling leader of the Tiger Head tribe. Fan Rian slumped against the headboard, her body trembling as she struggled to catch her breath. After some time she regained her composure, though her spirit remained drained. The weight of regret fueled her anger, intensifying her desire for Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan to face consequences. Their failure to do so would only deepen her disappointment. Every passing day felt interminable, pushing her to the brink of collapse. It was yet another night of sleeplessness. The following morning, Fan Rian awoke with dark circles under her eyes, her mind clouded and energy depleted. Reluctant to present herself in such a state, she adorned her hair with life pinglan, the golden hairpins and colorful silk flowers adding a semblance of vitality. Her face was concealed beneath a heavy layer of makeup. Surveying her appearance, she found solace in her semblance of beauty, resigning herself to the task at hand. Mrs. Guan harbored resentment, her disdain for Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan palpable. To Fan Rian's surprise, her attempts at persuasion yielded unexpected success. The government had officially declared war on the mountain bandits. Despite their victory in the initial skirmish, Mrs. Guan and even Scribe Guan remained skeptical of the government's purported strength. As Scribe Guan put it, how capable is the government truly? They may deceive others but not me. Both harbored doubts, believing the government's claims to be exaggerated and suspecting Xiao Yunduan of merely indulging in self-aggrandizement. They anticipated his imminent downfall. The resilience of the three bandit strongholds, impervious to previous government attempts at destruction, only bolstered their skepticism. Xiao Yunduan's recent arrival only served to heighten their doubts. Who was he to triumph over the entrenched mountain bandits? Convinced of Xiao Yunduan's impending failure, Mrs. Guan readily agreed to collaborate without hesitation, mobilizing the bandits for action. Facing financial constraints, Fan Rian offered to cover the expenses herself. She wagered that with Xiao Yunduan's downfall, Scribe Guan would emerge triumphant, possibly even ascending to the role of prefect. At that point, financial worries would become a thing of the past. When the time came, Mrs. Guan vowed to repay her debt. Yet there was a matter to settle first. Wouldn't it be ideal if he were absolved of guilt? With receipt in hand, Fan Rian approached Mrs. Guan, charming her with a smile and prompting her to sign. Overwhelmed with delight, Mrs. Guan, unable to read and trusting in Fan Rian's integrity, pressed her thumbprint without hesitation. Chapter 1893. Tricked. Fan Rian couldn't help but regard Mrs. Guan with a newfound kindness, her smile deepening. She no longer felt alone in her struggle. she finally had an ally to share her burdens with. However, the next day, when Fan Rian met Mrs. Guan in the city courtyard as arranged, she was shocked to find the second-in-command of the Min family tribe and the head of the Tiger Head tribe accompanying her. As she listened to their arrogant demands and learned of their identities, she was left dumbfounded. Initially, Mrs. Guan was furious and adamantly refused their requests. She argued that since she had paid them, they should be the ones to carry out the tasks. The idea of her husband becoming a spy was unthinkable and taboo. The repercussions of such an act being discovered would not only ruin his career but could also result in his family being expelled. Furthermore, Mrs. Guan realized that by agreeing to their demands, she inadvertently implicated herself in front of Fan Rian. She understood the gravity of the situation only after comprehending the document she had signed and stamped the previous day, feeling as though she had been struck by lightning. In her anger and frustration, Mrs. Guan lashed out at Fan Rian, accusing her of deceit. You tricked me?" Fan Rian's smile remained gentle as she spoke. "I'm not trying to deceive you, Mrs. Guan. I'm here to assist you. We share a common goal. Don't you desire the demise of Xianxia and Xiaoyunduan?" Mrs. Guan was left speechless, acknowledging the truth in Fan Rian's words, albeit unspoken. Before she could protest further, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe grew impatient, interrupting, "Enough with the chatter. Where are the written agreements? Do you think I'd hesitate to deliver them to the authorities now?" Mrs. Guan felt her head spinning. Returning home on unsteady legs, she recounted the encounter to Scribe Guan, who reacted with a mixture of shock and anger. After a moment of contemplation, he resigned himself to the situation, finding solace in the opportunity it presented. He chose to keep the matter to himself, realizing that it aligned with his own desires to collaborate with the mountain bandits. His wife's actions merely solidified his decision. That night, the first and second-in-command of the Tiger Head tribe stealthily entered Scribe Guan's house. Scribe Guan maintained his usual composure as he received them in his modest study. In the course of their conversation, both sides found themselves in a remarkably harmonious accord. It came as no surprise. During Scribe Guan's tenure as deputy prefect, he had engaged in dealings with the mountain, albeit indirectly. While he had never met their leader or engaged in direct contact, their paths had crossed in various ways. Given the circumstances that now compelled cooperation, it seemed only natural for all parties to come together. Despite the discomfort of being coerced, Scribe Guan rationalized that Xiaoyunduan's actions had provoked such measures from the mountain dwellers. Viewing it from this perspective, the arrangement became more palatable. Before long, an agreement was reached. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe would assist in eliminating Xiaoyunduan, staging his demise as an accident. Such a resolution would spare the province considerable trouble and provide the court with a plausible explanation. He resolved to ascertain the whereabouts of Xiaoyunduan's incarcerated associates with utmost urgency. When the leader of the Tiger Head tribe dispatched individuals to liberate them from prison, he pledged his Xianxia. As for Xiao, the prefect's wife, the Tiger Head tribe leader couldn't afford to prioritize her at present. With Xiaoyunduan eliminated, her significance would diminish even further. Her behavior baffled them. Despite multiple attempts to abduct her, each endeavor ended in unexpected circumstances. They were left somewhat unsettled and opted to refrain from further action against her for the time being. Moreover, there were suspicions that she might be under clandestine surveillance. Chapter 1894. Cooperation. They couldn't afford to waste any more time. Swiftly rescuing their captured comrades from the clutches of the officials became their top priority. Failure to act promptly would only leave them in a perpetually disadvantaged position. Despite the perceptions of cruelty, inhumanity, shamelessness, and despicability from the outside world, their loyalty to one another and their shared experiences mattered most within their ranks. Ignoring the plight of their captured brethren and defying the government's authority would essentially equate to their betrayal and demise. Such actions would undoubtedly breed disillusionment among their comrades, potentially leading to the disintegration of their entire community. Aware of potential dissenting voices within their midst, they understood the dire consequences of inaction. Should dissent prevail, their fate would be sealed, even without the government's intervention. Scribe Guan, recognizing his ability to gather intelligence and collaborate with them, saw an opportunity to leverage his past influence. Despite his current position as a lowly scribe, his years as deputy prefect had left him with allies, individuals indebted to him, and those aware of others' weaknesses. It was the perfect moment to capitalize on these connections. With minimal effort, Scribe Guan obtained precise information regarding the captives' whereabouts. He promptly contacted them, advising them to prepare themselves as reinforcements from the mountain were on their way to effect their rescue. When the leader of the Tiger Head tribe and the second-in-command of the Min tribe received the news, they promptly scheduled a midnight meeting with Deputy Prefect Guan 2 days later. A villager would be dispatched to initiate a breakout from the prison, and they requested Deputy Prefect Guan to make the necessary arrangements. Their plan included setting fires in the state office and ensuring the jailers were intoxicated beforehand. Deputy Prefect Guan readily agreed to their proposal. On the appointed night, chaos erupted within the expansive state office. Approximately 50 to 60 individuals from the 3 villages assembled. As flames engulfed the deputy prefect's office, they launched a coordinated assault on the office's rear courtyard. Despite Scribe Guan's arrangements for them to access the designated prison, they bypassed it entirely and headed directly to the east yard where Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were housed. Their distrust of Scribe Guan ran deep. They couldn't fathom why a man under scrutiny by the authorities, particularly one despised by Xiao Yunduan, wouldn't be under surveillance himself. Having been deceived once before, they refused to be duped again. Falling for the same trick twice would be sheer folly on their part. During this special period, Zheng Sang and the others all lived in the state office, including the dozens of people sent by Meng Wanfu. Since they had already been officially exposed, there was no need to split up and hide. They also lived in the state office to protect the safety of the state office and prevent prison break-ins. Thus, although the other party's attacks were swift and fierce, Zheng Sang and the others were experienced. Wu Guan, Wei San, and the others who were patrolling the night would block the first wave of attacks. Just as they were about to be defeated, Sun Bai Yi Wei Wu, and the others had already arrived. Hang Xingshan directed the bailiffs and servants to extinguish the flames spreading throughout the premises, while Sun Qian led a contingent to lie in wait outside the prison, ready to thwart any attempted break-ins. Inside the bedroom of the east yard, Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were together, the latter cradling Anan in her arms. The maids stood by silently, their presence a calm contrast to the chaos outside. As the flames danced outside, casting erratic shadows, the clash of swords echoed through the night. Despite the tension in the air, panic was notably absent within the confines of the room. Anan slept peacefully in Xiao Xian's embrace, her serene countenance a stark contrast to the turmoil outside. After more than 2 hours, the cacophony gradually subsided until silence reigned once more. Chapter 1895. Sudden Attack. Aftermath. Sun Bai entered the house and relayed through the bedroom door curtain, "My lord, the intruders have retreated. I've dispatched men to pursue them, but it's uncertain if any remain hidden within the state office. For now it's best for you and madam to remain indoors. I've already ordered a thorough search of the east courtyard, and no irregularities have been found. I'll manage the aftermath immediately. Yi will lead the guards to patrol the east courtyard. You can rest assured, my lord and madam." Xiao Yunduan nodded. "Proceed with the necessary arrangements. Assign men to patrol the city and advise the populace to remain vigilant and restrict unnecessary outings. Strengthen security at the city gate, opening it at dawn for inspection of all entering and exiting individuals. Detain anyone arousing suspicion. If manpower is lacking, enlist aid from local guards and the first in charge to bolster our efforts at the city gate." Sun Bai was taken aback, his face breaking into a pleased smile. "My lord's strategy is ingenious. We won't lack for manpower." While entry into the state government office was impossible, stationing reliable individuals to patrol and guard the city gate was entirely feasible. A mere 2 bailiffs could lead the team. Sun Bai hastened to implement the directives, while Xiao Yunduan instructed Li Xia and the others to rest. He entrusted Anan to the nanny's care, then took Xiao Xian in his arms, smiling reassuringly, "My dear, you've stayed awake half the night. It's time for you to rest as well. Sleep soundly." Xiao Xian agreed with a smile and settled down beside him. Outside, the bailiffs swiftly commenced the cleanup process, diligently addressing the aftermath of the chaos. The aftermath in the east courtyard, where the fire had raged, demanded immediate attention. Despite being extinguished, it left a disarray that required thorough tidying. The aftermath of the intense conflict left behind a scene of devastation. Numerous mountain bandits lay strewn across the ground, their weapons scattered amidst pools of blood, painting a grim tableau of the recent skirmish. Among all areas within the state office, the east courtyard bore the brunt of the damage, though other areas also bore traces of the altercation, albeit to a lesser extent. Curiously, there was no activity observed at the prison. It remained undisturbed throughout the night, devoid of any visitors. A handful of mountain bandits managed to evade capture, their movements reported sporadically by those who returned. Some were apprehended, while others continued to elude capture, their whereabouts unknown. Sun Bai, meticulously orchestrating affairs, relayed updates and issued directives ceaselessly throughout the night, ensuring the state office remained vigilant and active. Unbeknownst to all, once Sun Bai had effectively stabilized the situation, he and Yi remained behind to oversee operations. Meanwhile, Sun Qian, Jing Sang, Wu Guan, Hang Xingshan, Yang Mu, Wei San, Wei Wu and their cohorts, accompanied by a contingent of subordinates and bailiffs totaling approximately 120 individuals, quietly departed the city under the cover of night. After traveling more than 20 miles from the city, the group disembarked from their carriages one by one. They dispersed into the surrounding mountain ranges, advancing stealthily toward the Tiger Head tribe from 3 different directions. Little did anyone in the 3 villages suspect that Xiao Yunduan would dare to launch an attack on their villages before fully quelling the situation at the state office. Their lack of preparedness would undoubtedly exact a devastating talayuro as dawn approached. News of the previous night's events spread rapidly throughout the city. Rumors circulated that mountain bandits had infiltrated, only to suffer a resounding defeat during their assault on the state government office. More than 10 assailants had managed to escape, but 11 had already been apprehended. Authorities continued their efforts to capture the remaining 4 or 5 fugitives. Given the ruthless and cunning nature of the mountain bandits, the populace was urged to prioritize self-protection. They were advised against unnecessary outings, especially alone or in sparsely populated areas. Suspected individuals were to be discreetly reported to the patrol team, with a promise of a reward of 10 taels of silver for each successful tip-off. Upon hearing this incentive, the common folk felt emboldened and motivated to aid in the apprehension efforts. Chapter 1896. Can't leave the city. The common folk harbored a natural fear of mountain bandits, but seeing their weakness firsthand, they appeared more akin to street rats, cowering from the authorities. With the allure of 10 taels of silver and the visible presence of patrols led by bailiffs, the once feared bandits seemed less intimidating to the populace. The tantalizing promise of 10 taels of silver proved irresistible. In less than half a day, 3 more mountain bandits fell into the clutches of officials and vigilant commoners, who left no stone unturned in their pursuit. Remarkably, 2 of the captives were apprehended thanks to tips from the common folk. News of these apprehensions swiftly spread throughout the city, further emboldening and energizing its inhabitants. The mountain bandits, once perceived as formidable adversaries, now seemed decidedly less fearsome, mere mortals subject to capture like any other criminals. Eager citizens scanned the streets vigilantly, some even forming groups to patrol and explore remote alleys in hopes of earning the coveted 10 taels of silver. The unexpected turn of events left Xiao Yunduan and his cohorts in a state of disbelief, unsure whether to laugh or cry at the unforeseen outcome. Meanwhile, in Fan Rian's bedroom, the leader of the Tiger Head tribe, second-in-charge Min, and 2 other key figures of the mountain stronghold remained concealed, their presence unbeknownst to anyone in the office. In a corner of the room, Fan Rian trembled, her form huddled and bruised. The 4 individuals present bore visible signs of injury. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe sported a lengthy scar across his face, while another suffered from a sizable arm wound, hastily bandaged and stained with blood. The remaining 2, though their injuries remained obscured beneath their bloodied attire, emitted an aura of pain and distress. The room reeked of blood mingled with the scent of incense wafting from the burner on the table, contributing to an atmosphere fraught with dread. Fan Rian's trembling wasn't merely from fear. She had endured 2 slaps to her face and 2 to her body, yet she dared not cry out in pain or leave her corner. She understood she was a target for their wrath, a punching bag for their frustrations. Her realization of the dire consequences of her actions filled her with profound regret. She had naively courted danger, now trapped in a situation from which escape seemed impossible. 2 days had elapsed, yet the city remained under stringent scrutiny. Venturing beyond the confines of Fan Manor seemed an insurmountable risk, a luxury denied amidst the ongoing search. Under Xiao Yunduan's rigorous surveillance, leaving the confines of Fan Manor would inevitably lead to discovery. Despite their confidence in Fan Rian's loyalty, the sense of entrapment gnawed at their nerves. Unaware of the Tiger Head tribe's demise, they remained oblivious to their own imminent downfall. Hang Xingshan's chance discovery of a remote path leading to the rear of the Tiger Head tribe provided a glimmer of hope. Though treacherous and perilous, the path offered a potential means of escape. Gathering their courage, the group of over 30 individuals embarked on a precarious journey, scaling the back mountains of the Tiger Head tribe under the cover of twilight. Their intrusion did not go unnoticed. Sentry posts at the rear of the mountain detected their presence, but before any alarm could be raised, they met a swift demise at the hands of Han Xingshan and his cohorts. Under the cover of darkness, Han Xingshan and his companions infiltrated the Tiger Head tribe from the rear of the mountain, silently setting up an ambush. In the dead of night, they stealthily advanced, swiftly dispatching any adversaries in their path while igniting fires to sow chaos within the tribe. Seizing the opportunity amidst the turmoil, another member of the group donned the attire of the fallen bandits, seamlessly blending in with the ranks of the intermediate bandits. Their guise allowed them to approach the front gate unhindered, facilitating its opening. Observing the sudden eruption of flames from their vantage point several miles away, Sun Qian and his cohorts sprang into action. Overcoming any opposition encountered along the way, they surged towards the Tiger Head tribe, joining forces with Han Xingshan and his team to eliminate the bandits. Chapter 1897. Attack. The once formidable Tiger Head tribe had been significantly weakened, with its 3 leaders and 2 minor chiefs conspicuously absent. The losses sustained in the preceding skirmishes had already depleted 60 to 70% of their core forces. Faced with the sudden onslaught from government forces, they found themselves disoriented and unable to mount a cohesive defense. Amidst the chaos, a mass exodus ensued as survival became the paramount concern. Once the floodgates of flight were opened, the torrent of fleeing bandits proved unstoppable, signaling a decisive turning point in the conflict. By the break of dawn, the battle neared its conclusion. For those mountain bandits who managed to escape, safe passage was not guaranteed. Zheng Sang, Wei San, and their contingent of 30 individuals lay in wait on the fringes of the Tiger Head tribe, ensnaring any fugitives who fell into their trap. Though they labored diligently, Zheng Sang and Wei San lamented their insufficient numbers, ruining their inability to apprehend every fleeing bandit. Meanwhile, the officials corralled the panicked servants, bandits, and their families, binding them together and securing their temporary custody. With the mountain stronghold thoroughly searched, all structures were razed to the ground, and essential supplies commandeered. The captive individuals were then escorted down the mountain and delivered to Lord Xiao in the city for interrogation and subsequent judgment. The annihilation of the Tiger Head tribe posed a formidable challenge, given its long-standing existence and entrenched operations. However, with limited manpower at their disposal, the government office faced a dilemma. Stationing a permanent garrison was unfeasible, and leaving too few defenders risked vulnerability to potential counterattacks from the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort. Thus, the only recourse was to raze it to the ground. In this scenario, the advantages of a full-fledged army were evident. With an army, numerical considerations were secondary, enabling a swift occupation of the territory without undue constraint. Despite the urgency, caution prevailed. Concerns lingered regarding potential reprisals from Liuhe fort and the Min family tribe following the escape and subsequent report of the bandits. While the likelihood of an immediate assault was deemed low, vigilance remained paramount. Consequently, the destruction, incineration, and search operations were conducted with meticulous attention to detail, ensuring no critical areas were overlooked. Key structures such as the front and rear gates, sentry towers, 3 fortresses, main hall, kitchen, warehouse, and living quarters were systematically dismantled or set ablaze, leaving no stone unturned in the eradication process. The captured individuals, numbering between 20 to 30, were pressed into labor to hasten the destruction of the mountain stronghold. With time pressing, they were swiftly escorted down the mountain under cover of night, returning to the city without delay. Meanwhile, Zheng Sang, Wei San, and their companions left no survivors among the escapees, viewing them as deserving of their fate for their years of tyranny and exploitation of the common folk. Operating discreetly from the shadows, they monitored the progress of Sun Qian and his escort team, maintaining a vigilant stance. As the group finally staggered into An's prefecture city at 4 o'clock in the morning, a sense of relief washed over them. The morning star hung low in the sky, casting a faint greenish-white hue over the eastern horizon. Remarkably, the journey transpired without incident. Escorting such a large number of captives back to the government office proved impractical. Consequently, they were divided into 2 groups, one comprising dozens of identified criminals escorted directly to the office, while the remainder were temporarily detained in the spacious courtyard occupied by Zheng Sang and his cohorts. Chapter 1898. A complete victory. Upon identification, the mountain bandits would undergo release and subsequent punishment, a process requiring ongoing surveillance and management. Despite the cover of darkness upon their arrival in the city, the sheer size of the captured bandit contingent could not escape notice, quickly spreading as gossip among the populace. By dawn, word had reached even the early opening vendors, causing a stir throughout the city. In response to the burgeoning rumors, Xiao Yunduan opted for transparency, swiftly issuing an official announcement to quell speculation. The public's reaction was one of jubilation and astonishment. The accomplishment of dismantling the notorious Tiger Head tribe, a feat previously beyond the grasp of the imperial forces, elicited praise and admiration for Lord Xiao. The abrupt vanquishing of one of the province's long-standing bandit strongholds left the major families awestruck, their sentiments complex and uncertain. Lord Xiao's astute handling of the situation garnered widespread acclaim, solidifying his reputation as a formidable and resourceful leader. The eradication of the Tiger Head tribe was a monumental achievement, acknowledged by even the most uninformed citizens. Its demise foreshadowed the potential collapse of the remaining mountain strongholds, affirming the significance of the battle at Giant Rock Gorge. The officials' claims were vindicated, dispelling any doubts held by skeptical family clans. With hundreds of captives in custody, the looming specter of food scarcity and potential unrest demanded immediate attention. Xiao Yunduan entrusted the task to Jia Heming. Over the course of 3 days, Jia Heming meticulously categorized the captives, discerning between ordinary bandits, key figures and support personnel. The ordinary bandits and leaders were to remain detained, while family members and servants were to be transferred to the nearest salt pan under county oversight, where they would undergo penance for their complicity in the banditry. Determining the duration of exemption varied for each individual, spanning from 3 to 10 years. However, outright release for these individuals was out of the question. Even if some were coerced into serving the mountain bandits, their time spent in such circumstances remained uncertain. Given the overwhelming workload of the state office, there was neither the manpower nor the time to scrutinize each captive's backstory thoroughly. Sending them all to the salt pan for hard labor was a justifiable course of action, with the possibility of eventual release for those deserving of leniency. As for the backbone of the mountain bandits who had committed numerous atrocities, they faced a different fate. Subjected to interrogation and legal proceedings, they would be duly punished according to the law, either through imprisonment or exile. With the pressing matter of the remaining strongholds demanding attention, Xiao Yunduan found himself unable to allocate resources for individual interrogations. Instead, he resorted to locking up all captives, leaving 2 challenges still looming. As the government office grappled with the aftermath of the Tiger Head tribe's demise, Hang Xingshan, Wei San, and their cohorts remained tasked with covertly monitoring the Min family tribe in Liuhe Fort. Meanwhile, strict patrols and vigilant guards maintained security in An's continent's intermediate city. Stringent measures at the city gate prevented the second in charge of the Min family tribe and others from departing. Fearful of the consequences, Fan Rian refrained from disclosing the breach of Tiger Head tribe to its leaders. Uncertain of Xiao Yunduan's fate should they discover the distressing news, she braced herself for potential retaliation, growing increasingly apprehensive with each passing day. Chapter 1899. Be more specific. They were driving her to the brink of madness. Desperate to depart the city, she wished for nothing more than their swift exit, but her options were limited. The security at the city gate remained unbending. Even the carriages of the esteemed 3 families faced stringent scrutiny. There was no exception. Despite her overwhelming anxiety, she felt powerless. In the midst of Fan Rian's frantic distress, her worst fears materialized. Perhaps they had overheard the servants' discussions. Confronted with intense interrogation, Fan Rian dared not conceal the truth. She stuttered and quivered as she divulged everything with her confession. The second-in-command and the others were left dumbfounded. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe delivered a harsh kick and snarled, "Ridiculous! Absurd! Foolish woman, how dare you speak ill of our Tiger Head tribe? Do you wish to provoke your demise? Do you believe I want to snap your neck?" Fan Rian let out a piercing scream as she collapsed to the ground. A sheen of icy sweat coated her brow, and a sharp pang shot through her ribs. Without glancing, she sensed the ominous bruise forming. The leader of the Tiger Head tribe moved to advance and deliver a blow, but the second-in-command intervened, halting him. Turning towards Fan Rian, the second-in-command demanded, "Continue. Tell me everything. This foolish woman is surely fabricating tales. What could she possibly know? That wretched official must have concocted falsehoods to lure us out. Yes, that must be it. Our Tiger Head tribe's territory is perilous, easily defensible, impervious to attack by feeble government forces. It's inconceivable. Fan Rian quivered, stuttering, I am as Clalesi Euro. I've divulged all I know Euro. It's merely hearsay from beyond our realm Euro. Under the relentless interrogation of the second-in-command, she faltered, adding more details with a tremulous voice. Yet they all bore semblance to falsehoods. As for how the government managed to attack the Tiger Head tribe, not even Fan Rian, let alone the ordinary scribes in the government, would have any knowledge of such operations. It was undoubtedly a closely guarded secret. At this juncture, the second-in-command and the others grew even more agitated. They yearned to depart the city post-haste and return to the safety of their stockade. Only upon returning to the Min family tribe and Liuhe fort could they hope to unravel the intricacies of the situation. Listen to me. By tomorrow at the latest, I must be out of this city by any means necessary. Otherwise I'll unleash chaos. Do you believe I won't be the first to draw blood? The leader of the Tiger Head tribe seethed with frustration, his desire to exact vengeance palpable. Fan Rian's face drained of color and terror, her body trembling like an autumn leaf caught in a storm. The second-in-command addressed her sternly, Did you hear that? Waste no time in devising a plan to facilitate our departure. Consider the consequences for your Fan family before entertaining any foolish notions. Fan Rian staggered, nearly collapsing to the ground. She managed to make her way out of the room and into the courtyard, where she found herself overwhelmed by dizziness and blurred vision. Darkness crept into her sight, threatening to engulf her. In a haze, she stumbled into Old Lady Fan's courtyard, her vacant expression unsettling the maidservants. Once upon a time, any display of fear or disarray from the maidservants would have earned them a swift and severe reprimand from Fan Rian. Yet today she merely ignored them, her mind lost in a fog. Old Lady Fan reclined on a plush couch, her eyes half-lidded with rest. She beckoned a servant girl to kneel before her, gently massaging her tired legs. Upon hearing Fan Rian's hollow voice, Old Lady Fan instinctively looked up, her surprise mirrored in her expression. Hastily she dismissed the girl and sat up straight. What's the matter? Why do you appear so distressed? Chapter 1900. Caught in hobble. Old Lady Fan's eyebrows shot up, a wave of anger rippling across her features. Did your brother and sister-in-law do something? She demanded. No. Fan Rian shook her head, gesturing for the maids to leave. She then threw herself into her mother's arms, tears streaming down her face. Mother, please save me, please. Old Lady Fan was taken aback by her daughter's distress. How could you be so careless? Leaving evidence behind so easily. This won't end well, not at all. She harbored no qualms about Fan Rian's attempt to eliminate Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. They had crossed a line and deserved their fate. But Fan Rian's lack of caution had put them all in jeopardy. At her mother's reprimand, Fan Rian felt a measure of relief, though her guilt lingered. But mother, what do we do now? Those 4 people are still in our house. You. Old Lady Fan's gaze bore into her. What to do now? It was a dilemma indeed. With the city under martial law, extracting them wouldn't be simple. It might be feasible for one person, but with 4 involved, it posed a significant challenge. That won't do at all. It was simply impossible to keep this matter hidden from everyone. At the very least, they would need assistance from the Guan family, their trusted maidservants and other servants. But with their involvement, the secret could easily slip out, spelling disaster for the Fan family. Yet, they couldn't abandon Thema as Old Lady Fan pondered. Frustration bubbled within her, leading to another scolding directed at Fan Rian. Tears welled up in Fan Rian's eyes. Seeing her daughter, once vibrant and full of life, now reduced to trembling fear, Old Lady Fan's heart softened. She couldn't bear to continue scolding her. It was Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan who deserved the scolding. If they hadn't interfered, none of this would have happened. Hadn't An's prefecture city been peaceful all these years? Why did they have to meddle? Summoning her 2 sons, Old Lady Fan grilled them for answers. Had the government truly obliterated the Tiger Head tribe, or was it exaggerated? What was the current status of the tribe? Had the stronghold truly fallen? And what about the bandits? Had most fled to the Min family tribe in Liuhe fort? And so it continued. Second Old Master Fan seemed unusually knowledgeable. Old Lady Fan pressed for answers, growing impatient with his evasiveness. I'm neither a mountain bandit from Tiger Head tribe nor a constable from the government. How would I know? Angrily, Old Lady Fan retorted. If you know nothing, then what good are you? If you're so useless, why bother being here? Second Old Master Fan snapped back, frustration evident. If you're so bored, why not hire storytellers? Why bother with this? It's unrelated to us. Why would I bother knowing? It's nothing but bad luck. What nonsense. Keep quiet. The exchange escalated into a heated argument between mother and son. Fan Rian, burdened with guilt, found her brother's words grating and joined in, further infuriating second Old Master Fan. First Old Master Fan, silent until now, felt an odd sensation creeping over him. Suddenly he interjected, "Mother, are we somehow connected to Tiger Head tribe?"